All right. Welcome to the chat. All right, who else we got? Who's here? Say hello. All right, I see 3 people here. Hello from San Diego. YNSN. Hey, did you ever get everything all squared away there with what we chatted about? Did you contact anybody? All right, wait for everyone else to join in. Been having computer issues. That is my goal. It actually get a laptop, start saving up for one. Javier, are you currently in the process of enlisting, or are you in? Good evening. Just graduated boot camp, 31st. Awesome. I do not envy you guys going through boot camp with the current situation. Are you, which ACE school are you in? Let's see if I can enlarge this here. It's been about a month since I did a live stream, so I'm sure you guys got a lot of good questions. Not sure if you're going to go officer or enlisted. All right, so you already have your degree. I'm taking it. I would just weigh all the pros and cons. It sucked, I can imagine. Have you seen what they turned Midway into? I had to stay in the cubicles. What do you mean Midway? What are you referring to? Yeah, you guys really embrace the hurry up and wait and embrace the suck, that's for sure. And that is for sure. Fort Sam Houston, corpsman. A lot of you guys are that I've been talking to lately are corpsmen. So what other questions? Midway ceremonial drill. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because of everything, it's totally different because of just the whole situation. And it's going to be that way for quite some time. Unfortunately. But adapt and overcome. Adapt and overcome. All right, so hoping to see some of my West Coast peeps. I know that they're probably still working for a bit. JH, I made it. Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate a lot of you guys reaching out to me. I have not had a video out in a month, and that is not intentional. A lot's been going on, as I know it has been for so many of us around the world. Hey, Jeff. I was thinking about you just the other day, wondering how you've been. Yeah, it's It's been a real bad few weeks. Just a lot of personal stuff going on. And also computer issues. And, I can come up with all kinds of excuses. But, it's figured a good way to get back into it is just to do a live stream. I have been daily still talking to you guys at Instagram, Facebook, emails, answering your questions. But, need to get back to making the videos for you guys. And like I said, just started off with a Q&A. You wrote down a few notes from our conversation, called the NOSC, waiting for the next INDOC September. That should be squared away. Awesome. Yeah, definitely let me know. Keep me abreast of all that. Pretty sure I know a couple individuals at your NOSC. I reached out to them. They're actually currently on orders. But yeah. After multiple calls, switchboard transfers, you're going to learn that about the NOSC. It's a lot of bouncing around, and if you can actually talk to a live person, good on you. Love A school so far, even though we can't get off base. It's way better than boot camp. You'll learn that. Boot camp is not the Navy. A school's not the Navy. Wait till you actually get to your first command, and that's when you can actually decide really if you like the military or not. They have not heard the last of me. I really want to make the reserve work and remove any. Yes, it is a challenge dealing with the NOSC reserve side, being so junior. Just as time goes on, you make rank. You learn more of the ins and outs, and I'm here to help you and anyone else on the reserve side. Just to make it that much easier for you. But you're going to get discouraged at times, and just keep charging. Put your head down, charge forward. Criminal justice degree. All right, I have the same, but want to join military experience reserves only, but not sure if it's worth going officer school. You're never going to know until you try. The beauty though is if you go enlisted, you can go reserve or officer later, regardless if it's reserve or active duty. So just something to think about. Some of the best officers are what they call Mustangs, which are prior enlisted. Jeff has been cleaning up after the hurricane for 3 weeks. You guys got hit with that? You specifically? Sorry to hear that, Jeff. I know I looked online today and I saw that we have 3 storms brewing out there right now that are probably going to make some landfall damage over here in South Florida. Rosa, hello. 242. Going to boot camp in a few days. Any advice? Enjoy the process. It is not, boot camp is not the Navy. It's just a process to get you to go from civilian mindset to becoming a sailor. And it is totally different right now as far as just because of the whole quarantine, things of that nature. Just listen to what is being said. If you listen, you'll do well. You'll definitely do well. What happens if a woman gets pregnant on an aircraft carrier? There's an instruction for just about everything in the military, all the branches. But someone just asked me this question a few weeks ago. I want to say 20 weeks. Don't quote me on that. I have to definitely look at the instruction. But at a certain point, you get transferred off the ship to shore duty. It happens. What countries did I visit while I was in the Navy? All the countries that I really did not want to go to. I spent a lot of time Afghanistan, Kuwait, Qatar, Germany I liked, Italy, Spain, France, all over the Mediterranean. I did not go to Japan or Guam or any of the areas that I really wanted to go to. One day I will. Good evening. ACE school guaranteed to reserves. Yes, you will go to ACE school as long as you are not prior service. I just had this conversation with somebody a little while ago today. He was prior service, and he will go to A school, but it's just right now because of the whole COVID thing, he's on hold. But yeah, you'll go to A school. You go to boot camp, you go to A school, you're paid for it. That is active duty time. When you're done with A school, you go back home. You'll report to your NOSC, and you'll be waiting on your DD-214. Reservists receive that now. Years prior, they did not, but they do receive that for your active duty time. Okay, it's jumping around. Let me see, make sure I got all the questions. Is there a preferred degree the Navy looks for officers? It depends on what your designator is. So designator is type of officer, so like for instance, if you're going to be an engineering rate, of course, you're going to want an engineering degree. So yeah, it depends on what type of officer you want to be. Take it day by day. Yeah. It's good advice there for Smith. Yeah, it's just, and when you're going through it day by day, it's just like, I kind of equated this recently to somebody about like boot camp and even like the whole situation with COVID. To me, it kind of reminds me of like a deployment. Going through it day by day, it seems to drag at times and it really sucks. But then when you look back, it's like, wow, I can't believe we're already in August. And deployment is a lot like that. When you're going through it, because you're missing your loved ones, same thing with boot camp, it'll really seem like it's dragging. But yeah, it's when you look back, it's going to be like, wow, that went by so quick. And it's such a small portion of your military time. Did I ever deal with student loans? Yes, actually, I just had mine forgiven a few months ago. Stop moving. Did you ever deal? Yes. They moved boot camp quarantine to an Army Reserve base in Wisconsin. There's two locations from what I was told. I talked to two individuals, reserve side, that came back on orders to become our RDC, and they're actually up at the Wisconsin location. Did I go to Germany on a boat? No, I actually went there. When you go to like Iraq, Afghanistan, they have something called the Warrior Transition Program, WPT, and you're supposed to go there for a week to kind of decompress, going from a combat zone before coming back to the States. I actually also, throughout my previous, my last deployment, had to take individuals that were medically unfit. They had to go to Germany to process back home. So I actually made additional trips doing that. So, but Germany, I would love to be stationed there. Benjamin Park says, hello, how you been, Benjamin? Jeff says, wow. Or Mr. Rivera says, wow, it's Jeff. Can you go to OCS when you have a degree from a different country? Does not have high grades. Thank you, Chief. Stay safe. A lot of that depends on the country. I do know one individual, she was able to do that, but it's, like I said, depends on the country. Most of the degrees are not recognized by us here in the US. How many times have you deployed on a ship? Not enough. I loved being on a ship. What are the countries you visited? Yeah, I was saying that earlier to somebody else. I've been all over the Mediterranean on a ship and in the Persian Gulf. I never made a Westpac. I always wanted to make one, never made it. If I were to memorize the Sailor's Creed, it's 11 commands, 11 general orders, those kind of things, could I get a short depth time? I'm still in the process of documentation with my recruiter. You mean shipping out quicker? Is that what you're referring to? Because so much of that depends on the rating you're going into. And right now with the whole situation with quarantine, it's just kind of throwing things off. I know I had somebody talk to me the other day. The current age cutoff is 39 and they're going to be 40 come October. So they're like, I want to get to boot camp before then. It's just, it's not going to happen. It doesn't happen that quickly. There's so many people that have already been waiting for a year or more just to get in. Every time you go on your 2-week annual training, is that a new set? No, because your 2-week annual training, that's reserve time. It's not active duty time. In order to get a DD 214, you have to be on orders for 90 days or more. You broke down boot camp chow by chow. I look forward to the meals. I did that for deployments. If I was on, like, when I was in Iraq or Afghanistan, if it was somewhere that, like, you're just having a real bad time, depending on the command, I would break it down by paycheck. It's like, okay, I have 9 paychecks to go. The chow, I like that, especially if it's good chow. What kind of military composition are you receiving now? I just received disability. I said this in a couple of my videos. I am retired, but being retired on the reserve side, retired on the reserve side, you do not receive your retirement until age 60. Now, there are ways around that. For instance, I'll receive mine when I'm 58. But yeah, your reservists they're not permitted to get it before age 50, regardless of how many deployments you go on. Yeah, so I don't even receive my retirement right now. Medical retirement, I receive everything through the VA because of my disability. Yeah. So, and like I said, I've said this in previous videos. So if you retire before age 60 in the reserves, you have to have another job because you still have to pay your bills. How did you get your student loans forgiven? Because of my disability, because of my 100%. Yes, 100%, my rating. If you were 100% total and permanent disabled, your school loans are forgiven. I wish they would have done that years ago because my loans were basically paid off. Do you have to pay for your TRICARE before you retire? If I was to still want TRICARE, yes, but once you retire from the reserves, it is ridiculous the amount of money that they charge you compared to if you're serving in a drill status. But like I said, VA healthcare is not the greatest, but I have been fortunate. I've had some fantastic doctors here in the Miami area, and I have 100% medical care through the VA. How many months did you deploy in Afghanistan? I was there. How long was I there? It was less than a year. I was also, like I said, because I was coming and going from Afghanistan, I had to come back to Kuwait to take sailors to Qatar, to Germany. I did a lot of traveling time on the last deployment. The time has come for you to leave. I am so excited for all you guys that are heading off right now to boot camp, and just how the Navy has changed so much for the better. The opportunities are they're fantastic. I'm excited for all you guys that are headed out. Why do you like being on a ship? Isn't life on a ship awful? Like, really, anything in life, it's how you look at it. I loved being underway. I loved everything about the ship. Just all different things that I did working on the ship. I was an ASVAB tech, like on my very first command, as so many go to sea duty. ASVAB tech, I built ASVAB torpedoes, just, working with all the small arms, armory duty, working with the sprinkler systems. I don't know. Some people love it, some people don't. Many people don't. I loved everything about it. From the Philippines. Didn't we talk before? I think we had talked before. At what age did I retire? What age was I? I was in my mid-40s. Why can't vets go into the PX? You can go to the PX. Yeah, they stopped that years ago. It was you used to have a card, and you were only permitted, I think it was like 6 times, and then it went up to 12 times a year, once a month, and you had to get your little card punched. Now that stopped years and years ago. You just show your ID card and you can get into any PX or NEX or any of that stuff. I don't want to deploy on a ship. You want to serve 4 years and work in a nice place like a hospital. But I thought you, Benjamin, I thought you were going to go Army. Why did the Navy raise their age to 39? It's constantly changing. 32, 34, 32, 36, 32, 39. It's all needs of the Navy. So if they need the numbers, they make whatever adjustments. So, I mean, who knows when that could change? It could change at any time. That's why I tell people that maybe like 37, 38, and they're thinking, oh, I'm going to wait 6 months. I had a couple people tell me that I'm going to wait, 6 months, and then I'm going to start the process. I'm like, no, you better do it now because anything can change. Something else that many people don't know is October 1st, new fiscal year. Things can change then. I have not asked individuals I know that would have that answer. Like I said, it could change at any time. I know the ASVAB score, it was 35 for the longest time. It's now 31. I have a couple individuals, they scored a 31 and they were asking me, should they take whatever ratings that were available to them, or should they take the test? That's all a personal question. You guys got to ask yourself, what do you want to do in the Navy? How much time are you put into studying? For those that want different ASVAB information, study material, there's some great websites out there. I've also put this out previously. You can email me. I'll send you guys. It's a 2018-19 ASVAB book. I can send that to you guys. I got some practice exams, things of that nature. If you put in the work, if you really want, whatever particular rating, then I would say study for that rating. Otherwise, if you just want your foot in the door, especially if you're coming up to that age requirement cutoff, you definitely want to, you got to weigh all your factors. Do you have to go to the VA hospital or can I go to civilian? No, I go to the VA hospital. If for some reason, this is like acupuncture, there's currently where we're at down here, there are no acupuncturists in the hospital. Some hospitals, they'll have one acupuncturist, one chiropractor. Then they would actually give you what they call community care, and you get basically a piece of paper and you would go out to a civilian doctor, but they actually make the arrangements. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to go pick a doctor myself. Love the way the Navy adapts. Yes. Adapt and overcome. I mean, that's all the military branches. Benjamin says, I'm shipping in November, 3 more months. Awesome. Why is it too young to get married at 18? That's all personal choice. Our generation now is totally different than it was like back during World War II, where it was very common to get married at that age. But, if it's time to get married at age 18, then go for it. It's just there's a very high percentage of divorces. Should you get married in the military? Once again, personal choice. It depends on the individuals getting married. Is it a good idea to marry one of your homies to get extra pay? No, you don't want to do that. Too many people I've seen do that. You don't want to do that. No, just don't do that. Yes, that sounds amazing. Don't know, JH, what sounds amazing as far as what I was talking about that you're referring to. Why are there so many people in the military married? I don't know. You'd have to ask them. Jeff is still looking for the Blue Jackets manual. Jeff, are you looking for the brand new one? Or are you looking for, an older version? I mean, I've seen some on eBay for like $5, $6, even some used ones on Amazon. I actually thought about possibly getting a couple when I see them, pick them up, and maybe like doing some type of question answer type things on here. That way we can, I can give some stuff like that away if you guys would be interested in that. Best places stationed at. My favorite place, and it's just, I mean, it's not like a country that, my favorite place that I was actually stationed was out at ABOT, Al-Basra Oil Terminal, out in the middle of, off the coast of Iraq, in the middle of nowhere. I loved it. That was my favorite place. But like I said, I love being on a ship. Have I heard of Camp Glare on here? Is that Lemoore? Yeah, I've heard of all the camps. I'm shipping. Hard to be away from family. 34. I'm going to meet Ian. For me, I think being away from family and from people that I've talked to, that I've served with over the years, being away from family was the most difficult thing. Regardless if that's a spouse, your parents, your siblings, you know, your pet. Yeah, it's that's, I know for myself, that's one reason I've seen a lot of people even get out after one enlistment. So it's hard. You know, you gotta remind yourself why you're doing it and who you're doing it for. What do officers do in the reserves? You want the truth? Say a lot of men in the NOS sit around and eat donuts all day, but then again, a lot of people do. Now it depends. So much of that depends on the unit you're attached to. You know, if you're in a real active unit in the reserves, it doesn't matter if you're enlisted or officer, you're going to be doing the same thing that you'd be doing if you were on active duty. So lots of meetings, that's for sure. Officer or even like chiefs. Benjamin, should you get married at age 18, your girlfriend, knowing that you'll divorce 5 years later? Why would you even say that? Army won't be my girlfriend unless I marry her. Well, someone's not going to be your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever unless you marry them, then maybe you need to look into dating someone else. What college degree besides engineering will help you get accepted into OCS? Once again, it depends on your designator. So much, it's the degree, but it's also the GPA. So I was looking at individuals I know that recently just went from reserve to active. They're now going through OCS, of doing some videos on some of that stuff. But like I said, a lot of that, it depends on the designator. What do you want to do? Do you want to do engineering? Or do you want to do something else? But so much of it is the GPA because it's so competitive. How's the CB reserve unit after A school at the NOC? Funny you say that. I'm actually looking on here and I see him at Marcus Brown, Red Pill Sailor. If you guys are not subscribed to his channel, I definitely recommend going checking him out, Red Pill Sailor. He was actually the last division in boot camp to actually have a pass and review, the graduation where the family actually came to the base. He's an EO, just finished his A school and all. And, so much of it depends on where you're stationed, what battalion and everything you're with. But any of the CBs I know, they were always very active, regardless, even like down here in Miami, very active doing repairs and doing things out in the community, either at their NOSC or out in the community, working in their ratings. So yeah. But it's like anything, it depends on where you're stationed. You want to marry your girlfriend so I can bring her with you because the Army won't let me bring her unless I'm married. Yeah, it's going to be like that for all the branches. You're going to, like say for instance, you go to school, you go to boot camp, you go to A school, you're out in San Diego, afterwards you're stationed there. Yeah, your girlfriend or whoever can come move out there with you. But the fact is, if you're like on a ship, you're going to have to pay out of pocket. You're not going to get the BAH unless you're married. You're referring to the idea of the ASVAB test that could help me study your rates. Yeah, just like I said, email me if you guys want any of that study material. I can send it to you. And if you're not sure about a particular rating as to what, you're like, okay, I have no idea what I want to do in the Navy, or maybe I narrowed it down to these like 4 or 5 different ratings. Go check out Navy Cool, because all the information you want is on there. No, my grammar, no, wasn't that. It's just, jumping around to different questions and things. Jeff says the 80s and 90s version, like the one you had in boot camp. I actually found mine from 89. And the only thing that's really different between the different versions is like the different ratings that merged or that are obsolete now, things of that nature. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot. But yeah, especially that, easily pick one up for like $5, $6. Why is Chief Kala so strict and very upset? Talking about those videos, come on. I was just reading that yesterday on one of the Facebook groups about him, and I was like, nah, sweet guy. It's no different. When you go to boot camp, you're going to think that, many of you, about like your RDCs, like, oh, they were so hard, they're so rough. They're playing a role. It's to get you out of that civilian mindset, transform you into a sailor. We all put our pants on the same way, one leg at a time. Nah, no. If you could do it all over again, Navy or Air Force, I would still do Navy, but I would pick a different rating and I would do things totally different. That whole thing with hindsight's 20/20. From all my experience, all the stuff that I share with you guys, yeah, I would definitely do things different. Corpsman is difficult. Advanced, yes. Doesn't matter. Active duty, reserves, FTS. It's locked. What you recommend after finishing a full-time contract? To go out, finish, study college, come back, study, do contract for officer. Not necessarily. Depends on what you want to do. Do you want to stay? Like, say, for instance, you're in your active duty. Do you want to stay in the corpsman rate? Why don't you just go officer while you're in? There's different programs for that. I know a lot of individuals that do get out. They go to the reserves. They use their GI Bill, and then they do come back in. It's all personal preference. It's what your goals are. You got to write it down, pros, cons. Have a goal where you see yourself in 6 months, a year, 5 years. So, what do you feel about the Navy that's made 20 years fun and enjoyable? Trust me, most of my career, I spent over my entire career span to 28 years, and most of my career sucked. I look back and I don't know how in the world I survived, how I did it, but it's the people. It's like anything, civilian or military. It's the people you're with that make it enjoyable, and that's what I miss now. That's one reason I still have so many friends that currently still serve, active duty, FTS, reserve. I keep in contact with them almost daily. It's the people. What's the point of marriage? That's a personal question. So, Adria, what's your question about the camp? I've never been there. I know people that have been there. But is there a specific question that you're referring to? Do you know anyone who's a CTR? Yes, I do. You just got that rating, but there's not too much information about it. Yeah, Summer, you're not going to find a lot of information about the CT ratings, any of them, because the whole secret squirrel, just like IS. But I do know quite a few that are CTR. They love it. What made you want to pick that? Especially if you don't know a whole lot about it. Have you seen any Army in San Diego Naval Base? Not that I can think of. They may have been there, but no, it was all Navy from what I recall. What do you find enjoyable to wake up to every day? Life. And then that may sound silly, but one of the reasons I have not been on YouTube the past month, I said there's a few different reasons, but one of the reasons is I lost 3 individuals to suicide over the past month. 2 were on the Army side that I served with, 1 sergeant, 1 staff sergeant, and 1 was a HM2 that I served with here locally. So any of you guys that watch my videos, I'm very open about my depression and, what I have dealt with throughout my career. And all I want to say about just the whole thing with veteran suicide, it's very real. And if you guys need to, if you're feeling that way, talk to someone, anyone. I'm here. Even though I have not been making videos, I have been answering this in my emails, my text messages, my Instagram, my Facebook, things of that nature. I'm always here for you guys. And like I was going through some of my stuff by losing them. So, yeah. But yeah, just life, live each day to your fullest, and really, for me, take advantage, especially with everything going on in the world. Just take advantage of each and every day, and let the people that you know and love and care about around you, how you feel. Lewis says, I remember asking about the pack seaman. What's that like? I don't recommend pack anything. That's just my opinion. Some people it works great for, but I would not recommend it just because it's a gamble. Okay. Especially pack seaman, you're going to be working as a bosun's mate when you get to your ship. So much of that depends on the person. So many individuals, though, even though myself and other people will tell you like what to expect, when you get to your command, they're like counting down the days to their enlistments, done, and they're out, because it's so much better joining, actually picking a rating, something that you're going to be excited about. So I would my opinion, it would try and stay away from pack anything, especially pack seamen. What are the rates you can get with the minimum ASVAB score? It all depends on, like I said, the standard score. Top of my head, I want to say like bosun's mate, CS, things of that nature. But if there's a particular rating, go for what interests you. Go on that Navy Cool website. If you're not sure, like, okay, maybe I want to do something with aviation, but I'm not sure what. Go on there, look at all the different aviation jobs, find out what you need for the ASVAB score. I have a video on it. Study specifically the sections you need for that rating. And if you guys need that material, like I said, email me. I'll send you the study material. Study. If you need to, get a tutor. Do what you have to do to get the job you want. What rating would I do? IS, possibly, maybe one of the CTs. I definitely would not have been a gunner's mate. I was not a gunner's mate. I was, like, for those of you that are not familiar with it, I was actually a torpedoman when I enlisted, but my rating merged with GM, or maybe even like I would have picked one of the CB ratings, especially since it's something that can easily transfer to the civilian side, but yeah. Do CBs in the reserves deploy a lot? Steelworker, depends on a lot. Being voluntold, no. Down here in Miami, the battalion, they've gone twice since like 2004. It's just like all the other ratings. It's so often they look for volunteers. So if you look for volunteers, you don't have to be voluntold. I know a lot of CBs that they've been in the battalion long enough. They know how to work the system, and they go quite often. So it depends. Applying for a civilian job. Does having that Navy officer title matter? versus your E4, E5. Most people, first, it depends on the type of job, especially like when you're saying about the title of being, second class or third class. Most people don't even know what that is. When you show, it's like when you go to like Applebee's and you show your military ID for a military discount. They'll look at it and I'll be like, you have no idea what this is. They don't, because it's not like your years prior, we used to have like a green ID card. It doesn't look like that. It's a cat card. And it's been for quite some time. People don't know what the ID card is. They don't know what the ranks are. Now, officer, depending on the job you're going for, that would have, I have seen more weight, but it depends on the company you're working for. Like I said, the job you're applying for, things of that nature. Applying for civilian job, you said that. Then Benjamin, the point of marriage is to be with that person for the rest of your life. The military is kind of forcing it. I understand that, like I said, but marriage, it's different for everybody, how they look at it. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about forcing it, because of being able to afford, if they're going to move out there and you're not married, can't afford, because you don't have the BH. So I understand what you're saying with that. I miss all my boot camp and A school folks every day. I hear that a lot. Do you keep in touch with any of them? Have you had any controlling master chiefs? I've had controlling at every rank. Micromanagers, I've seen it at every enlisted officer at every rank. Depends on the person. Sorry for your loss. Thank you. Are Navy linguists on ships? Some are. I have seen some. Good evening, Chief. Good evening. I was wondering if you could talk about cross-assigned in the reserves. Cross-assigned, yes. For instance, like I was here in Miami, Operational Support Unit, OSU unit. I was cross-assigned to 2 different cargo handling units, coastal riverine units, things of that nature. And what happens is, depending on the unit, depending on the funding, for instance, aviation, they have a lot more funding than other like coastal riverine and stuff units. They will fly you out. They're supposed to fly you out at least once a quarter, all paid for by the Navy, and you go out there and you train. Now, like I said, depends on the unit. Funding, there's a lot of factors. Sometimes, like for instance, my cargo unit, I was going out every month for a while. For like a year, I was going out every month to California. I spent more time, it was a joke, I spent more time flying than I did actually, I swear, training. But yeah, you're just going to be cross-assigned to a unit. Sometimes you can get it locally in your state to where you would drive. So yeah, technically, I mean, it's good, especially depending on your rating. I know someone, for instance, they told me they wanted to be like an air traffic controller. I was like, okay, well, if you're at a NOSC and this individual was in Iowa, like, you're not going to work in your rating. But if you're cross-assigned and you can actually go to, wherever the cross-assigned unit would be, you'd be working in your rating. It's a good way to network. It's a good way to network not only as far as other possible cross-assigned units, but also for like deployments, volunteering for different mobilizations. I did that a few times. Also networking for civilian jobs. RTC San Diego closed down. Oh, that's been closed for years. That's a good question. Have you guys, who here is currently serving in the reserves that may be watching, that is currently cross-assigned? Anybody? Or are you still having to apply? Because I know whenever I applied, anytime I applied, I never got any of the units I wanted. They always stuck me wherever. And it never made sense because I always went to the other coast. Study, yes. Look, Yep, definitely your goals. Our Navy carriers, basically large, like huge armored cruise ships. I have never been on a cruise ship. I've always said I was going to go on a civilian cruise ship. Never have. Probably, I would say, like in a sense, but I was hoping Aaron would pop on here tonight because he's on his ship. He can give you guys a little bit of information, any questions you guys may have wanted about the carrier. A carrier is basically like a floating city. Do you know anything about the EN rate engineman? I know quite a bit. What would you like to know? Active or reserve? Like any of you guys, EN or any of the other ratings too. Any questions you have, like I said, go Navy Cool. You can pull up that particular rating. The rating information I give you, that's the actual rating card that you get when you go to see your recruiter down at MEPs and all. It's the same information, but it will tell you not only about that particular rating, where your A school is, how long the A school is, but it will also tell you, like, doesn't matter if you're active or reserves, what credentialing you can get for that particular rating, that job, how it's going to apply. You can take different type of courses for credentialing, certifications for the civilian side to set yourself up for that. Like I said, both active and reserves. Have you seen a woman make out with a man on an aircraft carrier? What kind of questions are these? People do that, and you get in trouble. So you don't want to do that. Law enforcement, Javier says. What was the question there, Javier? Law enforcement, they're a little bit different, knowing about the enlisted officer ranks and stuff. Just the idea that you're military, for one, you'll get some type of points for when you apply compared to like a civilian. And then just having, depending on what branch, what your rating is and stuff, you may have some like weapons familiarization, stuff like that. Have you had the chance to be a dog handler? No. I actually, when I was in Afghanistan, I helped one of my buddies that I was just talking about that is no longer with us, was a dog handler over in Afghanistan. And I used to go over there and help feed and stuff the dogs. So I always thought it'd be cool to be a dog handler. I just got cross-assigned. That's why you asked, which unit are you cross-assigned to? Have I tried non-alcoholic beer? No, I have not. My son is full-time now in A school for corpsman. Awesome. Just looking how is better for him. We have someone else in here that's a corpsman actually down there in A school. Corpsman, don't know where he's going to be stationed at. If he's going to get a C school right away, C school will be a specialty. I was talking to someone about this today. They were talking about wanting to work like in mental health field. So there's like a NEC, and NEC is a different type of code that you can get specifically for, especially corpsmen. They have so many different NECs. There's behavioral health, I think it was something. So yeah, depending on where you're going to work, if you're going to work at a hospital, if you're going to be on a ship, things of that nature. But I mean, corpsmen, it's hard to advance, but that can change at any given time. You don't know, because needs of the Navy, they have different programs to, maybe give people like early retirement, things of that nature. And if he's in A school, just make sure that he keeps his notes, studies his notes for advancement. Don't know, what his pay grade is and stuff, but for when he does go to take his advancement exam, hopefully he'll do really well, have openings, and be able to advance. And like I said, get some type of C school. Active EN. Yeah, depends where you're going to be stationed. Like for instance, if you're going to be on a ship, what classification of ship. Also, like when I was with Coastal Riverine units, we had ENs there. So once again, those NECs I was talking about, the specialty schools you can get for depending on where you're going to be assigned, what type of. I'm going to make a video on that to actually show you guys to where like you're going to say like, okay, I'm going to be an engineman. It's not. It's an engineman just like it's a corpsman, but there's specialties. There's specialties in there, and how you can actually, depending on your command, apply for different type of specialties. Is there something specifically that you want as far as engineman? I mean, are you looking at like being on maybe like a carrier, one of the smaller boys, anything of that nature? I definitely, though, like I said, go check out Navy Cool. What about the ITS for subs? I actually know somebody who, I know his parents really well. He's actually on a sub as an IT. Seems to be liking it. Sub life is totally different. I spent a little bit of time underway on a sub. This was right when they were just starting to make the change for females to come on board. I actually loved it. I don't know how well I would do being underway for that length of time, not seeing sunlight. But anything with the IT rating, especially with I know many ITs. I know a couple on subs, mainly on the surface side. The certifications they get is amazing for when they cross over eventually, whenever they get out for the civilian side. They really set themselves up. My NOSC would have to approve me for some of the extra certs. Yes. Yeah, there's the whole chain of command thing and all. I mean, but you're so new to your career. I mean, you're just reporting and stuff. But that's good that you're thinking about it. Definitely, if you want to email me, we can even look at different like NECs and things. But you have to wait till you're in doc and everything. But find out where you're going to be stationed, if you're going to be working like right there with the admin at the NOSC, if you're going to be part of the OSU unit, or let's do that, and then we can find out about whatever certs, NECs, things of that. Because like I said, you're so brand new. But I love how you're gung ho. In the reserves, for the most part, do you get to volunteer where you want to be deployed? If you volunteer for a mobilization, yes. If you're commander, and we have why has this got a big glare on it? Fleet leading to Japan to train with the Japanese. You have to apply for, if it's your like right now, like RIMPAC, you can apply for something like that to go do some type of training for like your 2-week AT, ADT, things of that nature. Mobilizations, there's an actual website. And, right now, I don't have access to this website anymore because being retired, I do have friends that have access. I wanted to make a video on it, but with the whole thing with the current situation, making that a little difficult. But I want to show you guys, there's an actual link, when you get your CAC reader, your ID card in the CAC reader, you'll log onto the website, and there's on the reserve portal, there's an actual area. You can have emails sent to your account for just, I want to know what all mobilizations are, depending on, it doesn't matter what the rating is, or rate specific, certain locations, things of that nature. But you just go through there and you'll apply. So like say, for instance, I want to go to Bahrain. You'll pick those orders. Now you'll apply for them. Doesn't mean you're going to receive the orders. Other people are applying also. So another reason you want to have great evaluations, your PRT scores, things of that nature. You want to sell yourself. Also, some mobilizations, depending on your rating, depending on where they're going, they also ask, I've had it happen to me, and I've seen it still happen to other individuals. They will also occasionally ask for a civilian resume. So yeah, you want to sell yourself. But yeah, a lot of reservists, they volunteer. It's in my opinion, it's good money. How is it? I've heard being on a sub. Like I said, it depends on how you're going to, deal with living on a sub life under the water. Some people, they love it. Some people, they don't. They end up going through the training and then they drop out. Would an IT and cryptologist be similar? I don't want to say yes, and I don't want to say no. I mean, a lot of that, once again, NECs, ITs, depending on your NECs, depending on your commands. I've actually seen the two work together at times. We almost hit an hour, folks. Really? Already? Dang, time flies. Time flies. Yeah, I would love, if it wasn't for the current situation, we would have had Fleet Week. I would have went down and did some videotaping on one of the subs. I've done that in the past. I have footage somewhere. I got some stuff going on right now. I don't actually want to say what it is until it actually happens. Don't want to jinx anything. But then I'll find some of that video footage. I have very little, but sub footage, footage over in Afghanistan, Kuwait, lots of gun shoots, things of that nature. Because I've had a lot of you guys ask me about gunner's mate. What's the difference between a GM and an MA? I know Benjamin was talking about marriage. I've had a lot of you guys ask me about what is dual military, whereas also known as mil to mil, or is military member, marry another military member. So there's a lot of videos there that I will be working on to get to you guys. There's a lot of footage that between that and a couple individuals that I've been talking to, they're going to get me some footage to share with you guys since I'm no longer in the fleet. I took. What are you referring to? You took? You talking about with your certs? Are you yelling at me, YNSN? Benjamin drop off. Who else we got? I was hoping Carrie would show up here. I wanted to know if her son left. I should become a ROTC or regular ROTC teacher recruiter. Thank you very much. Someone else had asked me today, sent me an email, and they were asking me about the whole instructor thing, being a teacher. Okay, as far as rating, Navy does not have a rating for being a teacher. Now, instructor, you have your 9502 instructor. You have your leadership instructor. You have, which I was a regular instructor, your leadership instructor, your command career counselor, all these kind of things. It makes you very knowledgeable. Those are all collateral duties that I've had throughout the years. So much of this is also, I appreciate you saying that, is just from learning the hard way, which is one reason I do this, is to help you guys out, because I did not have anyone there guiding me, or my career would have been much different. Belay your last? Okay. Jeff says still here. Jeff, I'm going to look for that Blue Jackets manual for you. I took your advice, printed out the bibs. I was going to ask you if you were going to start studying your bibs, because I can see you doing that. For your E4, eligible to take it. You hope you put your E4 on first try. Definitely. Did you look at that awards manual that I sent you, that I emailed you? Did you? Because as a YN, you have so many different instructions that you have to know. And since you're so gung-ho, I think that's great. Yeah, definitely study your bibs, especially since you're an E3. I did receive a couple emails talking about the advancement exam. I'd have to go back over, review it to see exactly what it says. Because I kind of read it, but my mindset wasn't really there to retain it. Because just once again, with everything going on in the world, as far as delays and things. You're welcome, Jeff. Says, yes, we had to look at that a few times in A school. Yeah, I haven't looked at yours. I meant to do it the other day to see exactly like how many instructions and things, other than like the awards manual. But big one, especially for YN, is evaluations. Definitely. And as a reservist, you can get retirement points doing the evaluation course. So I highly recommend you do that for anybody, especially YN. Fall exam is canceled. Yeah, I was told it was canceled. Like I said, but I want to read the instruction before I go and start quoting anything. E5 never had to take the exam. No? See, back in the day, you probably remember this, Jeff. We had PARs that we had to have signed off. Things were different. There was more hoops to jump through to be able to take the advancement exam. But yeah, especially so many individuals, start studying now, right out of boot camp, right out of A school. When you're out of A school and it's so fresh in your head, you definitely want to be studying for that advancement exam. Even if it's right now, like I said, canceled, just like the PRT canceled because of the whole COVID thing. But yeah, be prepared. Even if Corpsman, it's locked up, you never know when it's going to open up. I've seen many times throughout my career to where they offered early retirement for individuals. Hey, you got 15 years, the rate's locked up, so we're going to offer you, $50,000 if you just retire now. Many individuals, they've done that. I've seen this a few times throughout my career, different ratings, and then that opens things back up. So you never know when something's going to be available, so you always want to be prepared. You always want to study. How many times can you take the ASVAB? It's funny you say that because someone asked me that the other day. And someone had said 4 times. You can actually take it. I've seen people honestly take it 6 times, but it's the amount, like the first time you take it, then the second time you got to wait 30 days. There's a length of time in between because they want to make sure you're studying. Like I said, if you guys need that study material, hit me up on that. Who is working on her planks? I'm working on my planks. Are you working on your planks? I've always enjoyed doing planks. And for me, like reading certain instructions for the Navy, yes, planks are more difficult than doing sit-ups, but I have back injuries. Twice I injured my back, fractures through different things that I've done with the Navy. And for me, sit-ups, always very painful. Planks, it hurts, but the idea of working your core, it makes more sense to me, and it's easier for me. Adrian says, Jeff, how come you never took the exam? Any book you recommend for the test you're talking about for Corpsman? Yes. I always recommend any of the NAVED trade books. They're available for all the ratings except for the secret scroll ratings because of the whole, top secret for ISCT. Any of their study material you're not going to find, just like you're not going to find their bibs because that's all in the SCIF. It's all, hush hush. If you cannot find that book, what I'm referring to, if you don't know what I'm referring to, email me. I can send it to you. Jeff says, yep, I remember mapped in school. Jeff, I don't remember. When did you say you served again? Because I know it was way back in the day. I think it's amazing how things have changed immensely over the years. Best jobs to pick at MEPs. Javier asks, Javier, I know you were talking about criminal justice and all. Are you even considering MA or GM? I say that because of the whole law enforcement question you asked. That's all personal preference. Like I said, I was a torpedo man. When I left active duty, went reserves. I was an AO, hated it. Left reserves, came back in, was a TM again. Then that merged with GM. So I had 3 different ratings throughout my career. I had to do it all over again, knowing what I know, I would have been like an IS or, like I said, one of the CB ratings, maybe an OS. I would have picked something totally different. It's all personal preference, though. Every question I submit says I hold a plank. What? Awesome. I love it. So you're going to be ready come the right after the new year for the PFA. It's for advancement. Let me scroll up here. It's for you, Jeff. And you're talking about advancement. So I'm not going to find the cryptolinguist Navy rank exam. No, you will not. Nothing there for the CTs. I have a couple good friends that are CTs in the chief community, but you know they're not going to come on here and talk about anything. Linguist, I served with a couple over in Afghanistan. They would come over, do a 6 month in Afghanistan. They would go home for like 9 months, come back for 6 months. From talking to them, it was also depending on what type of language they spoke, as far as where you're deployed, how often you're deployed. But yeah, you're not going to find any of that kind of stuff. It's all hush hush. There was a PDF about a little bit of information that I found. I'll have to look to see what CT it was. I don't remember offhand if it was a linguist or not that I could share with you guys. Because I mean, it was probably the most information I found on the net. And one of my CT buddies was the one that gave it to me. Do you know anything about AECF and would I recommend it? You know, I would recommend basically anything other than a PAC program. That's just my 2 cents. Yeah, so I mean, if that's something that interests you, just have all the facts. I'm the type of person that I like to have all the facts going in, try and give you guys all the information I can so you guys are not surprised as you're going through your career, because I know I had a lot of surprises and I was like, I wish somebody would have told me this because I never would have done X, Y, and Z. Jeff served from 92 to 2000. Yeah, 95 is when a lot of the changes, and I'm sure you can attest to this, that's when a lot of the changes, after the tail hook and all, that's when a lot of the changes started happening. Thank you for your service, Jeff. Can you visit Mexico on the Navy? I would have to look to see like where, if all Mexico or if certain areas like that. There's always different lists as far as where you can go, where you can't go, active reserves. Yeah, and it's always changing too. I know a lot of individuals, they have family in Mexico, and I mean, if it's justified, you know, it's just a matter of also telling your command. But I would have to look that information up. Do you think Navy SEAL training? Wow, why is this glare so bad? Absolute hell. You know, just like so much training, things are mentally. I served with 2 different SEAL units. I have friends that are SEALs, and you know, anything that they've ever told me, it's mindset. You know, like they say, the only easy day was yesterday. I think you can apply that to just about anything in life. But yeah, it's your mindset. Can you visit? Where the heck is that? Where the heck is that? When you got a map there and you're like, boosh, boosh. It's like, for instance, I had a friend, he's originally born and raised in Pakistan, you know, came here, I think he came here when he was like 9. Came here, was in the nuke field after many waivers and things for the Navy, was in the nuke field, tried to go home to see his family member who was passing, and he actually, and this was before the whole COVID thing, he actually made it to Pakistan, and then he got picked up because he wasn't allowed to go just because of everything going on in the world and because of him being a nuke and things of that nature. Any life advice for 18-year-old? Wow, there's just so much advice. You got to pinpoint it more than that. Are you like looking at joining active duty? You know, I joined when I was 21 and a half. I wish I would have joined earlier. I didn't really know much about the Navy or about any of the military branches. I know like recently they actually pulled the recruiters out of my hometown. But, you know, it's military. I know one reason like I put it off is because I was like, I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. You know, you think you know it all. At least I mean, was me. I thought I knew it all when I was younger. So I put things off, and I wish I would have joined earlier. I wish I would have done a lot of things differently. I wish YouTube would have been around back then to, you know, be able to network and get a lot of this information. But so much advice, you know, so yeah, I want to ask me a little bit more like specific. Have you ever visited Japan? No, that was one place I really wanted. Japan, Guam, and Hawaii I wanted to go and never made it. No, I never trained with any of those soldiers. Yes, I ship. Awesome. What's your rating? What are you shipping as? November 18th. That's right around the corner. He'll be here before you know it. Yeah, as far as, you know, doesn't matter if you're going as E1, E2, E3, I don't care what it is. Do your best to max out your TSP. TSP is, and I had this conversation earlier with someone. TSP is fairly new to the Navy. Okay, it came about halfway through my career, and even when it started, I was on the reserve side. There wasn't the whole matching like there is now, and the rules were different for the reservist. We really didn't save a whole lot of money compared to now. You know, it's now the blended system. So instead of prior to the blended system before 2018. It was you do 20 years, you get 50% of your you know your base pay your 3 highest years. Now it's 40% plus whatever you save TSP. TSP is your thrift savings plan, basically an IRA. And the whole reason they changed that is because so many people, a large percentage, do one enlistment and they get out and they have no money saved. So the idea is you put money in and the Navy matches, okay, some of that money. So when you get out, you can realistically have $10,000 or more. So especially if you're joining so young, not knowing maybe if you're going to do just one contract, you know, I mean, who knows? So many of us go in with the mindset, I'm going to do a whole career. And then you get in and you're like, oh man, this sucks. It happens. It happens a lot. So much depends on whatever command you're at. It's either going to make or break, you know, your mindset of, are you going to stay for that 20 years, or are you going to just stay and do your time for that one contract and get out? But definitely invest TSP. I highly recommend, once again, depending on your rating, depending on your command, they'll make you wait 2 years until you can use your tuition assistance. I highly recommend doing so. That's free money. The Navy will pay for you to take classes, get at least all your math and English, things of that, you know, your liberal classes, all of your, you know, psychology or whatever, all that kind of stuff knocked out. So when you get out, you'll have that GI Bill and you can hit the ground running. You may even have an associate's degree at that point, go on for your bachelor's. Someone else was asking me yesterday about, you know, realistically, could they get their associates, get out and use their GI Bill for a bachelor's and master's? Yes, you can. It's all about having a plan. Thank you. Also mapped, notoriously promoted. It's funny that you say mapped because that's like a fairly new term. Capped. Was it mapped back then? Because I know it was capped. Yeah, what do you say right there? Capped. I need to get my glasses on here. This light is so bright. Joined at 27. It's awesome. Haven't gone through, you've done it earlier. it's all about timing. Everything happens for a reason. Yep. What's TSP? Yeah, TSP or Thrift Savings Plan. Said it's an IRA. There's one individual that I would actually, he's a financial advisor on civilian side, but he knows a lot about the TSP. I'm trying to get him to come on my channel just because I can give you guys like my 2 cents worth, but he does this for a living. But yeah, definitely you want to put that money in, especially, even as an E1, E2, E3, you're not making a whole lot of money. But the idea is, if you think about it, most sailors, especially when they're young, really young, first enlistment, you spend money on eating out, drinking. If you really add all that money up, you could be putting that money in your TSP, because you may not be thinking about it now. But like I said, regardless, if you do one enlistment, even if you think I'm only doing one enlistment, that's it. And then all of a sudden at the end of that enlistment, you decide to re-enlist or you decide to get out, which either way, you have that money there. Also, the fact being, if you decide to go active, then go reserves, you keep that TSP. So you definitely, you want to think of your future. Is Master at Arms a hard rating to get, along with DC? So much of it depends on what's available. Recruiters do not know from day to day what's available. The only one that knows that is the classifier down at MEPs. I actually have one of the sailors I served with. He's an amazing PS1. He's actually a classifier. So I've actually talked to him recently about some questions you guys have, just to clarify, to make sure nothing's changed. But yeah, when you say hard to get, it's different every day. The thing is, right now, it's the end of the fiscal year, so there's a lot less ratings. October 1st starts the new fiscal year, which means the clock resets. So basically, say, I'm just going to throw a number out there, say there's 1,200 corpsman jobs, HMs, for the whole year, say on the reserve side. And that's a low ball. I'm just throwing a number out there. So there's 1,200. The Navy has a whole formula to say like how many of those jobs they're going to put per quarter, per month. I don't know what that formula is. I don't know, like if that's even like common knowledge. But they generally, things like I said, the clock resets the beginning of the fiscal year, October 1st. So that's why they always recommend go to a recruiter. If you're looking at like now, like I haven't gone yet, but I'm thinking about going, you may want to wait until October 1st. However, COVID, everything's right now backed up as far as going to boot camp and stuff. So you may want to go now. Say, for instance, you want to be a MA. And that when you get there, you scored high enough for MA, but there's no openings. There's no billets, no availability. So what you want to do is you want to take whatever job is available, whatever rating, and you want to push it out as far as possible. Say like, okay, I'm supposed to leave 9 months from now, but let your recruiter know, say, for instance, I was given ABH, but I really want MA. So that way, when that MA billet becomes available, especially after October 1st, you can, there's ways where they can actually switch you into the billet you want. Because they're going to tell you need to pick something when you're at MEPs. And that's fine. Just pick something, like I said, further out. Let your recruiter know that it's not what you wanted, especially if you're dead set on wanting whatever particular rating. But yeah, DC, someone had asked me this. I don't recognize the name. I don't think this was you yesterday. Someone asked me the same question on my channel. But being a firefighter on a ship is totally different than a regular firefighter. Totally different. And everybody gets basic firefighting skills. DC, once again, go on Navy Cool, look at it. You'll see all the other things that a damage controlman does. MA, I hate to say it, but you're basically like a glorified security guard. I know some people don't like that when I say that, but MAs do not have arresting power. You want to go Army or that if you're looking at that, wanting to be more of a police officer. MAs, and I'm actually going to work on a video being like difference between MA and GM, because I've been asked that quite often. Master at Arms, for the most part, especially new, because you got to pay your dues, You're a security guard, standing gate guard, checking IDs. All right. You're that first line of defense should something happen. You know, you can get an NEC, apply for that C school to be like a dog handler, to go like Austin Alexander to harbor patrol, working on, you know, the small boats, to be coastal riverine, things of this nature. But it's not per se like, you know, a police officer. It's not. Javier's answering there. How old do they give you your TSP? I have to turn that light down. I would have to actually, I get a lot of the emails for the TSP. I would have to actually look at that to see as far as like what you're referring to, for spending and stuff. I don't know if I answered the question, Carlos. Is it better to go at the beginning of the month? That I would have to ask my buddy who's a classifier if that's, you know, per se. You know, like I said, you month, if they do it quarterly, I'll have to ask him. But like I said, recruiters, a lot of people are like, well, the recruiters should know. Recruiters have no idea what is available. Your videos are very informative. Thank you. Active from 2011 to 17. Just finished your degree. You're looking for jobs in the reserves now. Okay, awesome. What was your rating when you were on active? Your rate and your rating. What MAs don't have arresting power? And Navy military police, or does it not exist in the Navy? What you will see is a lot of civilian Navy police. They're actually Navy police hired by the Department of the Navy. They're on base. You also have your NCIS, which used to be NIS, but NCIS. Yeah. As far as like the Army, Navy, it's two different things. Even Air Force. You know, I tell a lot of people you might want to check out the Air Force or that then. Also, I mean, and I know a lot of individuals, they want to go MA, so that way do one contract, get out, they want to go law enforcement. That's great. I also tell people, though, you may want to check out maybe gunner's mate, because it's, one, the idea of being a veteran, because you get points for being a veteran, doesn't matter what your rating is. Two, like a gunner's mate, you're working with, not to say that certain MAs, especially if they, you know, they get their small arms marksmanship instructor, their SAMI or something of that nature, NEC. But gunner's mates, you're working with all the different guns, so you have that familiarization. ET2, were you the one that emailed me? Because I remember there was an ET2, you were referring to that. I used the GI Bill to get 2 masters. Holy crap. Unfortunately, the officer recruiter said my civilian job doesn't match. You know, it's really weird on the reserve side how they do the whole officer thing. I've seen so many individuals like with PhDs and masters that to me would be great officers. They go and they have their interviews and stuff and they're turned down. It's weird. I'm happy to go back enlisted though. You enjoyed it. You passed your ASVAB, but waiver got denied for a felony you had when you were 18, almost 9 years ago. Well, that sucks. Chance you can get it approved in the future. I would say, from what I've seen, is, you know, what they're saying today is a no. It doesn't mean that in 3 months, 6 months, a year, it won't be a yes. Okay, persistence. Needs of the Navy. I've actually seen it happen. It's not common, but I have seen it happen. Like I said, it's needs of the Navy. So yeah, because who knows what's going to happen between now and whenever you would apply again. Have you possibly, I don't know if it's, if it's something you would consider, have you even like possibly looked at another branch? People sending me messages on Instagram. Yeah, in the Navy could be yes, at another branch. That is possible. It depends on why the Navy said no, because every branch has a little bit different criteria. I have seen individuals personally be told no for the Navy and yes for the Army. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's you're dead set, I only want Navy, okay. But if it's just a matter of being in the military, you may want to check out another branch, or like I said, check back 6 months or whatever, because things change. It's just like I was saying earlier. The age requirement. Currently, it's 39. At one point, it was 32. It was 36. It was 34. It's constantly changing. ASVAB score, it's 31. There was a point in time where it was a 45. I want to say it was even a 50. If it wasn't Navy, then it was Coast Guard. Somebody was a 50 at one point. It's how they control, who comes, as far as depending on the numbers they need, who joins and who doesn't join. Right now, it's a 31. It dropped. When you say veteran points, does that count reserves too? Yeah, if you have veteran status, see, and this is something that a lot of people think just because you're serving, like you go to boot camp, you go to A school, and you're in a drill status, like Mr. Rivera's here, who just finished his YN A school. He's not a veteran. A lot of people, they don't understand that. A veteran is when you complete your contract and you actually have a discharge paper. Honorable discharge, or if it's general, as long as it's not a bad, dishonorable discharge, then you are a veteran. So, but yeah, you get points. You get points depending at 5 points, 10 points, depending on if you have a disability. So like if you do your active duty contract, you get out, maybe you go to the reserves, okay? You're a veteran because you finished that contract. So now, when you go to apply, say like, for instance, you go and you get, whatever disability rating, maybe 30% or whatever. There's different types of points that you can receive. Okay, I had a letter of recommendations from my uncle, who's a police officer, brother-in-law, who's a firefighter. Awesome. Tried the Army first. They said no, but I wanted Navy first anyways. Yeah, I would just definitely, like I said, I don't know the details of your situation. I don't want to get into it, of course, on here. But, did they like ask for additional information, or was it just like a definite no? When you went through the recruiter? Thought the Navy was more strict. Yeah, the Army, from my experience, is not as strict. They are the largest branch. They, like I said, different types of requirements. I have a couple of buddies that are actually Army recruiters, things of that nature too. So, but all the branches, things are constantly changing. So somebody says no today, doesn't mean, like I said, 6 months, a year from now, it won't change. A lot of it, once again, though, depends on your age. So certain individuals that might be 34, 35, 36, that's kind of stuff you got to look at too. How long is a Navy Reserve contract? Is it actually a full 8 years? Yes, it is, or a minimum that you can choose to serve. No, it's 8 years. Everybody, doesn't matter which branch you do, your first contract, everybody is 8 years. So if you do 4 years active duty, your other 4 is reserve. If you do 6 years active duty, 2 years reserve. Reserve, you come in, it's 8 years. A lot of people, they'll leave before that. It's a little bit easier to leave in the reserves. That's another whole topic, though. The only thing you want to like watch out for that is if you happen to use your reserve GI Bill, your Chapter 1606. I know some people that came in boot camp base school, they used that 1606 GI Bill, and then like 2 years later they just stopped drilling. They didn't show up. They had to pay Uncle Sam all that money back. So, but yeah, everybody does 8 years. Everybody does. Does not mean you have to do a drilling reserve status. You can go IRR, which is where you don't show up. You just let the Navy or whichever branch know basically you're alive. This is my mailing address. This is, you know, my current status. But everybody has an 8-year contract. And technically, I mean, even like with me being retired, technically they could recall me. There's no such thing. Once you sign on that bottom line, Uncle Sam owns you for life. How can I become a veteran only serving in the reserves but not serving 20 years? Like I said, you want to do your contract. You got to do your contract, and then you'll be considered a veteran. So, but the reserves, you know, if you have no prior service, active duty, you're only reserves, certain things like your VA home loan, your educational benefits, it's different for the reserves than active duty. You know, and it's a certain amount of days for one, and it's different for something else. Same thing with your medical. It's totally different on the reserve side. So that's why I tell a lot of people, if you're kind of iffy between active and reserve, just go active. It makes things so much easier. The process was just longer. Recruiter said he wanted to get me in quick. So he called the head of command. I passed the ASVAB at MEPs, and he says, I'm guessing that was worse. Okay. Yeah. You know, like I said, I would just maybe apply again if it means that much to you. I would just apply again, wait a little bit, you know. I don't know, like also where your area, where your situation, where they're at, state-wise and all. Maybe go to a different recruiter. I mean, I'll talk to one another, but maybe just deal with somebody else, especially too if they did not put in a waiver. Do you know if the Army has an age waiver? 37, the cutoff 35 is, I haven't looked like recently at the Army instructions. I do look at that kind of stuff periodically. Anything with Army, I would highly recommend checking out Ben Allen. I haven't seen anything pop up. He usually on Wednesday nights does from like 8 to 9. He'll do like a live stream, but he was Army, now National Guard. He's the 68 whiskey, kind of like, I guess, like the equivalent to a corpsman. He's very knowledgeable. I would definitely, anything like that, you can check, you know, check with his channel. Good evening, Chief. IT1 looking to move to Navy. LDO, awesome. Inputs on the difference if I stay enlisted. Man, I have to turn this, hold on. Oh. If that's going to help, but try and turn that light down a little bit. I got like halos here on my eyes. Okay, so I think that says Coast Guard recruiter. It's the IT1. Is that what you're saying there? Like I said, I got halos now, especially walking right into that light. If you have to reimburse for travel, you're talking about reserve side? Yeah, Navy reserves, and you apply for LDO. Yeah, any type of travel the Navy's going to pay for, with the exception of, like, say, for instance, like when I was here in Miami, I was, at one point, I was attached to Orlando, I was attached to Tampa, Jacksonville. I had to pay for all that driving travel. There was even, for a period, I was actually driving to Atlanta. But that was by choice. So like if you're cross-assigned, but when I was cross-assigned to like Tampa, Orlando, I was reimbursed for the gas mileage. They put me up in a hotel, things of that nature. Ooh, the Bay Area. Ooh, expensive out there. Recruiters were extremely nice, though. Okay. Yeah, I would, maybe just get some clarification from them. But like I said, once again, too, with everything going on, current situation, I was a little surprised. I thought more people being unemployed, a lot of people that I know are unemployed. Generally, that means recruiting is easier. I've talked to a lot of my buddies that are recruiters, and they said that's not so much the case right now. So, yeah, maybe just get a little bit of clarification, like I said, and just, check back in, try and apply again. Easier to get a federal government job. I have some friends that it's like they've gotten multiple federal jobs offered to them. And I don't know, that USA, the .gov website, I have had no luck. If you're in the military reserves, and by jobs, I mean like CIA, FBI. Like I said, I have a lot of friends, they've applied for all the alphabet soup agencies. They've been offered multiple jobs, no problem. A lot of them, they've said it's because of either their active or their reserve status. But I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong. It was actually a website where you can pay somebody and it's a legit website. I know a couple people that did it. It was like $400, and they actually do all the KSAs and all, the federal resume and stuff. And I actually considered doing that, but Coast Guard Reserve. Yeah, they'll, like I said, I actually have one of my sailors. She was reserves here in the Navy, went active duty Coast Guard. I can actually, verify with her if you want. I can check up on that, but it should all be the same. The military, they pay for all that. Gabriel Hernandez, 17, and want to join the Navy at 18 because I don't talk to my father, so I can't get both my parents' signatures. 17, how much the process can you start before having? Well, as far as the recruiting process, I mean, you're going to have to wait. I mean, you can start doing your homework. What particular rating, what job are you looking at doing? In addition to that, if you're dead set on the Navy, you're going to go. I would recommend starting with, learning your 11 general orders, your rank recognition, things of that nature. I have some videos on that. I know USN, Aaron Pereira has some. Red Pill Sailor, he just put out an awesome one about learning your ranks. I definitely would check that out. But yeah, just, big thing is pick what rating, what job you want. Do your homework there. Study for your ASVAB. I mean, you probably don't have to, because you're young enough, you're in high school, that stuff is all fresh in your head. But I mean, it doesn't hurt. Take even like some practice exams or some websites. So you can email me. I'll send you a couple practice tests if you want. They sell eye drops for people who are computers a lot. It's funny you say that because I got a ton of them sitting right over there. They're prescription. I've had Restasis and a few other different ones, and none of that stuff, it helped because I actually do a lot of work on the computer, like you're saying, not so much like with YouTube and all, but doing graphic arts. So yeah, my problem is though, I had LASIK quite a few years ago, and it wasn't 6 months after I had my LASIK, my eyes reverted back and actually became even worse than when prior to having my LASIK. So I'm like that 1% that has, after 1 year of having LASIK, I guess for the first year you have halos. I'm that 1% that after my year, I mean, it's been quite a few years now, I see halos anyways. So when I have lights like this in my face, it just makes it worse. But yeah, I have all kinds of prescription eye drops. Zachary says, how you doing, Chief? I'm doing fairly well. How are you? Glad to be on here with you guys tonight. Just started sub school in Groton. Awesome. I had some parents asking me in the last couple of days all about Groton. So might have to pick your brain. All I'm saying is if you're joining the Navy or about to ship boot camp, it's a lot of fun. I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people, you know, they've been asking me that. They think I'm kind of biased because, you know, I've been through it. But especially, like I said, if you guys just get ready to join, things are so different. They've changed drastically. I really am excited for all you guys going. Did she have to go through? Yeah, she had to go through boot camp again, and she said it was so much more difficult up in for the Coast Guard. But yeah, no, she had to go through it all over again. Thanks for the help. You're welcome, Jay. I'll try again. The recruiters even tell me they wish everyone was like me. Yeah, you know, and it's funny because I was actually just reading on one of the private chats on Facebook yesterday about something similar to your situation, to where it was just a matter of, you know, just having that you know, go-getter attitude and just reapplying. So I would definitely, I mean, the worst that's going to happen is they say no, and they say no, and they say no. But it depends on how bad you want it. And like I said, they may change something, and hey, that's all you want to, you know, you want a shot. You'd call instead of calling me. I was there every day filling out forms. Yeah, because so many people, they'll be told no, and they're like, okay, and they'll walk away. So, Michael says, I live in Maryland. I have a school in Fort Meade, Maryland. That's awesome. As an MC. Oh, MC, that's the other rating I wish. Oh, back in the day, I wanted to be a PH, a photographer, but it was overmanned, so I wasn't able to. And now, since, you know, JO and PH and all of them merged to MC, MC is one I would pick. And you'll be able to see my wife during A school on the weekend. Depends on the school. Especially, normally I would say yes, but because of COVID, it depends on the school. You know, it depends on, you know, some of the A schools, quite a few of the A schools, there's only 2 that I know that they've allowed them to leave on the weekend, but it's with, you know, permission and such. But they're restricted to the base because of everything going on. They don't want to take a chance of you getting COVID and bringing it back to your shipmates. What is the website that helps government jobs resume? I'll have to look that up. I don't have it right offhand, but like I said, I know a couple of friends that did it. They told me about it. I looked at it, and to me, you know, I was like, I'll pay the money if because it has on there that they guarantee you will be hired or you get your money back, because it's people that have, you know, they've been doing this for years. I leave in 11 days soon. Awesome. I like that. Soon to be 10. I mean 9, 8. Any advice? You're going for air traffic controller. Oh, that's awesome. Don't hear too many people going for that. It's a very hard school. Stay focused, study, and just have fun. You know, like I said, boot camp, A school, it's not the fleet. It's not. Biggest thing right now is just that quarantine before starting boot camp. That's what's really like getting to a lot of people. Just having all that downtime. You know, use that time to study. If you're not familiar with the 11 general orders and all that, you know, just use that time wisely, and embrace the suck. But yeah, you'll, I mean, especially air traffic controller, you know, that's a good rating, good rating. And oh, by the way, you deserve way more subscribers. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. I actually lost a lot of subscribers. There's, you know, I'm sure maybe some of you have heard like TubeBuddy. There's also vidIQ. I actually paid vidIQ, the app, and I've lost like 300 subscribers, and it's my own fault. Like I said, for not putting videos out for the last month. There was, I think it was in March, there was a few weeks I didn't put videos out. And, you know, that, like I said, that's just with everything going on. For those of you that, you know, weren't here earlier, like I said, I've lost 3 fellow shipmates to veteran suicide, and just everything going on in the world. It's crazy. Just, we live in crazy times. And I just have not been myself coping well with it. You know, I have myself talk to my VA doctor, you know, my therapist. But yeah, so I appreciate that though, but a lot of people, you're not putting the videos out, and I understand they unsubscribe or they just don't want to subscribe. I get it. I really do. And I'm going to work at, getting back on track. That was one reason I want to do this live stream tonight, to get back into things. And then I have some other things going on. I don't want to, like I say, put out right now what it is until it happens. I'll know for sure in a couple weeks. And then I'll put that out because I don't want to jinx it. But, I have a lot of things that's going to be happening here over the next 30 days. But I do appreciate that. Thank you. You're more helpful than most of the military YouTubers. Thanks. Goodness, talk to you soon. Ask away, Chief. I'd love to help. Thank you very much, Zachary. I appreciate that. I don't remember you saying what's your rating for subs. I'll be here for almost a year. Oh, that's a long time. And I'll be up seeing the new sailors you help out. Awesome. Awesome. One thing I can say, when I did go underway on a sub, I loved it because it wasn't like on a ship as far as the seasickness, the motion, because we were in some choppy water here, like leaving Fort Lauderdale. But it was totally different. And it was, once we were actually out into the ocean and diving, it was amazing. I thought it was great. Gabriel says, thanks for your help as well. Already took my ASVAB in school. You're waiting. You're 18. I always love watching your videos. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I hope you guys all get the rating you really want. Like I said, don't settle. Do not settle. When would you say is the best time in your life to go? When you're ready. I went, like I said, when I was like 21 and a half, looking back at that point in time, it's when I was ready. Yes, hindsight's 2020. I wish I would have went right after high school. But then again, maybe if I would have waited a few years, because things started to drastically change 4 years after, I was in, things might have been different. So it's when you're ready. It's always when you're ready. Because you said, I want to, but I have so many responsibilities at home. Got to make a list of pros and cons. Like I said, only you're going to know, Stephen. Only you are going to know when it's ready, time for you, whether it be active or reserves. And there's also something called FTS. If you're not familiar with that, full-time support, definitely go check out. I have a video on it. What is the least dangerous job in the Navy? I don't think I've ever been asked that question. Now you really can't say like for instance, like top of my head, I can say like, oh, YN or PS, you're an admin type. But it depends on where you're stationed, the commands, if you're on a ship, because ships are very dangerous. So there's, and then too, just because you have a rating, you also have collateral duties. So, I mean, that's a good question though. Wow. I don't think I've ever been asked that. Do you know if we can run in quarantine? I was told no. I'm actually talking to somebody up there right now to get an update for a lot of you guys, questions you have about the whole quarantine and boot camp and things. There's a list that they actually give you of exercises you can do in the hotel room, but you're confined to your hotel room. So yeah, no running. I know that's an issue for a lot of individuals because they're like, they suck at running. I know I suck at running. It's always like been my least favorite thing to do. I'd rather do anything else other than run. But, they're worried about their run time. The Navy, though, has implemented certain things. So when you actually leave quarantine, you get to boot camp, they understand that. And they're, like I said, they have stuff in place. I turned 18 in October, so I guess it's a good reason why I got to wait. And like I said, October, new fiscal year. So that's awesome for so many reasons. Hopefully I'll have a better chance at getting your job. Yes, because October 1st, everything resets. So you definitely should. Definitely should. Zachary E.T. Whew. Did you want subs? Was that something, Zachary, that you wanted going into the recruiter? Or is that just something they offered and then you were like, that's interesting? If you end up getting orders to San Diego, that'd be sweet. West Coast, anything. I had my choice of orders anywhere in the world. And like a ding dong, I chose Norfolk, Virginia. Could have went to Japan, Hawaii, Guam, San Diego. And I was like, I want to be as close to home as possible because I had never been away from my parents. So I chose Norfolk. Once again, looking back, if I would have known, I would have taken like Japan or Hawaii. But yeah, San Diego, that'd be nice. West Coast is so much different than East Coast, night and day. Michael says, is MCA school hard? I personally, I couldn't tell you why that popped up. I have no idea. I could not tell you. I've only talked to 2 people that ever went through. Like for me, I love school. And to me, if you love what you do, the saying, you'll never work a day in your life. But all the stuff that you guys are going to learn, because like I said before, it was like JO, being a journalism, PH, photographer, all the different ratings that came together to make MC. And just, that is one rating. If I was to like join right now, starting over, MC would probably be the one. MC or IS. But MC, I think you're going to really enjoy it. Boot camp, October 5th. Awesome. It's perfect time, start that new fiscal year out. So during quarantine, you absolutely can't do a thing like you bring your no laptop. You can bring your laptop. It's going to be boxed up. I know you can't bring your phone, but like I said, you can bring your laptop. You can bring any of that stuff, but you're not going to use it. It's going to, you do want to bring, I would say bring your phone, because when you get there, you can do your 30-second scripted call. All your stuff's going to go in a box. It no longer gets shipped home like it has in the past. They stopped that. It now stays there at RTC. So when you graduate boot camp, the box is returned to you. I would just say, do not bring an iPad, any type of tablet. Do not bring a laptop. Do not bring any of that, because just like anywhere else in the world, there are occasionally a couple people that, may break into the boxes. I have not heard of that happening, but I know like commands I have been to, I have personally had things stolen and stuff, because it happens anywhere in the world. And just, I wouldn't want, you guys to have something like that happen. Just don't chance it, because you're not going to use it. You're going to bring your 2 books to read. You can bring a Bible. You can bring, all your study material, and all you're going to do is study. They'll give you a list of different types of exercises you can do in the room. There's a TV to watch. But yeah, you can have a lot of downtime, a lot of study time, but no laptop, no outside contact with the world. Thank you for all the information. You're welcome, Javier. I hope you go to Italy or Spain or Australia. Australia would be awesome. Never got that chance. Been to Italy. I've been to Spain multiple times. Loved it. Love both places. Actually, my ship was stationed in Italy for a while before it came to Norfolk. Actually wanted IT, ITS. Then they offered you. Money was a big decision. Recruiter was ETV, so it was really cool to hear that. It's always great to hear, somebody working in that particular rating in that field, to get all, the knowledge firsthand, all the stories and stuff. When you go to MEPs, do you have to pick a rating? Yes. Can you change it before going to boot camp? Yes. Now, a lot of people will tell you, like say, for instance, you want to be gunner's mate, and you go there and it's not available. And they're going to tell you have to pick a rating. A lot of people will tell you, don't just pick anything. The idea is you have to pick something, because the fact is, if you don't pick something and you go back, chances are your recruiter is going to be pissed at you. because they put in so many hours that you guys don't even see behind the scenes. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of hours. And their whole job is to get you to MEPs. And then the fact is, if you come back and you don't have a rating, because recruiters have no idea what rating is available. So the idea is you pick a rating, and then what happens is, like I said, you can, if it's something that you don't want, tell your recruiter, I had to pick something. So I picked, for instance, I picked, CS, culinary specialist. I don't want to be a CS, but this is what I picked, but you're going to be leaving in 9 months. So the idea is within that 9 months, when the rating you want becomes available, have the recruiter have that communication with MEPs, with the classifier down at MEPs to get it changed. It can happen. I've seen it happen, but it goes back to that communication. You have to have that relationship also with your recruiter. They have to be on the same page, knowing your intention. Jeff says, West Coast. He says it ain't so glamorous anymore because, yeah, I don't even want to get into all that. Things aren't the same as when you and I first joined. Even when you left in 2000, I retired in 2017. Things are constantly changing. It's just the nature of the beast. But the idea is West Coast, and I was told this, and then I experienced it firsthand. Norfolk, you're so close. Norfolk naval, largest naval base in the world. You're so close to DC. It is so different than West Coast, which is more lax because you are away from the politics in DC. Does everybody have to quarantine at RTC or only if you show it? No, everybody does. Everybody, you quarantine. You have a corpsman there on site. That's their duty. You have RDCs there. Your doors remain open at all times. You're confined to your room. Your temperatures are checked throughout the day. Said, the Navy's doing everything to keep everybody safe. If you show signs, then you're placed elsewhere. But after your 2 weeks quarantine, you start your whole entire training process. It's 7 weeks, your first week being your P days, your processing days, which is all your medical. If you need glasses, get glasses, dental work, things of that nature, get all your shots, the dreaded peanut butter shot, things like that you guys hear about, your uniforms, all that. So you go through all that, and then you have your 6 weeks of boot camp. Now, a lot of divisions have had to re-quarantine. I've talked to some individuals, they've had their whole division had to be re-quarantined up to 3 times. So that's another 6 weeks of boot camp, which is one reason a lot of people, their ship dates change for that, because the idea is, say, for instance, you're joining, for instance, the individual that's going to be joining is an MC. Now, if something happens to that individual, okay, you cannot go to boot camp until your replacement, somebody else who's currently in boot camp right now, going as an MC, until they graduate boot camp to go to A school. Once they leave boot camp, then you can, what they call, enter the pipeline, and you can start your boot camp training. So, for instance, if that individual, and there's different quotas, male and female, if that particular individual where you're going to be filling their spot, their billet, their slot, if they, get diagnosed with COVID or their whole division gets quarantined, then you may be delayed 2 weeks. So I hope that makes sense there. But no, there's a lot of people, because the fact is the Navy's changed it over the years to where now a lot of civilians work in the galley, they work at the necks, cutting your hair, things of that nature. There were civilians before, but there's now a lot more. And those individuals go home. So even though their temperatures are checked and they're wearing masks, people, you can be asymptomatic. And, individuals, unfortunately, do get infected. So one person shows a sign and get quarantined again. And that was a long rant. Let's say Jeff. Can you still get retirement after 20 years? Yes, you can. Active and reserve, 20 years minimal. If you went to college for a semester and paying back like $5,000, since I failed most of my classes, so you didn't list it, will that hurt you? Hurt you as far as what you're talking about, like for your security clearance? What are you referring to there, Keller? The new quarantine sounds better than your ship was quarantined midway through boot camp during week 4. I know recently of 2 individuals, they were 2 days from finishing boot camp, and the whole division got re-quarantined for 2 weeks. And the fact is, depending on what A school you go to, you may have to do 2 weeks there after you graduate boot camp before shipping out. Some A schools have it to when you get to A school, you're quarantined for 2 weeks. And things keep changing because we still don't know so much about this. When you were in boot camp division, quarantined 4 times. See Zachary right there. That's a prime example. So, when I've had some people tell me, like one individual, he's like, hey, my wife's going to be having a baby in November, so I wanted to go to boot camp now. I was offered to go early. I want to go now, so I'm home in time for the birth of my child. I was like, don't do it, because it's not like you got 8 weeks boot camp, like years past, and you're going to get out, because this whole quarantine thing, it's just, you have no idea. It's totally out of your control. So yeah. Good news, they still get a paycheck. That's what I had told people, like at the hotel. I had some people tell me, but I was so bored. You're getting paid. Good thing for reserves. That's active duty time. You're building that active duty time. You're getting that paycheck. You're getting those retirement points. So, try and look at the positive there. Citizen, how about citizenship through the Navy? You can get it, yes, if you meet all the criteria. Yes, you can. Security clearance, since I believe, it can affect so much. Once again, though, is for documentation as to why the Navy's recruiters are always going to tell you to try and pay off whatever debt, just because of that whole possibility with your security clearance. But make sure everything's documented as to why you have whatever type of issues. Just out of curiosity, how come you never took the test to make your rank to admiral? Because I'm not an officer. I was enlisted. I had no desire becoming an officer. I had quite a few people try to get me to go warrant officer or LDO, and I had no interest. Do you know if you have logistics specialists in the reserves? Yes. Reserves, active duty, FTS. LSs are everywhere. And actually, LS is one of the best ratings in the reserves for advancement, for mobilization opportunities. I have a couple of LSs. There's an LS1 right now. She's over in Hungary. And she's been all over the world, Japan, multiple times, Hawaii, Korea, Italy, Spain. I mean, it's ridiculous, the orders that this individual gets. But once again, it's that networking. You get that cross-assigned unit, you start doing some networking, and yeah, you go all over the place. What ship to Zachary? The Hoppa. Why not officer for you? Just no interest. Some people are officer material. I just don't see myself being an officer, never did. I did really consider going warrant. I had a couple, because you have to be a Navy chief before you become a warrant officer. And, they became warrants, and they really were pushing for me to do it. But I just, for me, it wasn't about, not all, but a lot of individuals, they become an officer for the money. And it was never about money. It was always about helping others, helping my sailors. But yeah. How should I go about getting that documented? For one, I would do just write a letter as to why you have whatever debt, for what happened and stuff, because they want, the big thing is too, is just so they're aware that you are aware, because a lot of people, believe it or not, they don't pay attention to any of that stuff. And then when that comes up on the security clearance, then it's, or even like through the recruiter, then it's like, hey, you weren't aware of this situation, you didn't tell us. You'll learn this in the military: document, document, document. Because if it's not documented, it never happened. And you want to keep a record of everything. So how should someone decide if they should go reserve or active? If I did go active, I'd really want to go to Japan, but I know I can't pick and get guaranteed. Well, active and reserve, it's night and day. What are your goals? So I, 99% of the time, if not 99.5, I tell people just go active, because so many, they'll be disappointed in the reserves. Quick question. I plan on being in for a good 20 years. Awesome. Hopefully. If I wanted to become an officer, saying that you're 19 with only a year of college, what would be the best option you think? Well, first, I'm glad you're thinking about that. Being, so new to the Navy, that's great. But you have so many quals, between your schooling, getting your dolphins, you have so many quals. But when you're eligible, when you're able to take whatever classes that you can, using your tuition assistance, and just take it from there. If you do want to, indeed decide to go officer, but you have so much time. Keep hearing about a program called 21. Yeah, probably talking about Seaman to Admiral. Yeah, I'll probably make a video touching on some of those kind of programs. And I can do that. And if you want to, you can even reach out to me on email and we can discuss some of that stuff. But since you're so new with your schooling and everything up there in Groton, it's good to have that plan. But yeah, you got so much time ahead of you. Good night, Chief. Tap, taps, lights out. All right. Good night, Jeff. Have a good one. Do you deal with a lot of BS as an officer? Yes, you deal with a lot of BS also as a chief. But yeah. How many ships carriers have you been on, and what is your favorite? I have never stepped foot on a carrier. Never. I always wanted to, but never did. I have many friends that are on carriers, but at some point in time, I will make it up to Norfolk and go up there. I worked on a lot of like DDGs, CGs, the frigates back in the day before they decommed all of them. Probably DDGs, just because, especially like as a gunner's mate, all the different types of small arms and stuff, weaponry on there. But yeah, how many have I been on? A lot. Not stations, but as far as like working and things. I have a friend that got the rate HT, Hull Tech, found out at the last minute. Most of what they do, clear stalls and toilets, they chase their turd chaser. You wanted to ask me how long before he can switch his job. Yeah. Is he gone to boot camp yet? Because if not, you can put in what they call a DAR form to try and change it before you go. Otherwise, it's going to be the end of your enlistment before, because Navy's got to get their money's worth out of you with all the training and stuff. So you can put in at the end of your contract. It's not guaranteed, but you can do that to try and cross rate. Hey, Laura, also semi control of your life and active right. What's the chance of getting your job choice and getting stationed in Japan if you go active? Job of your choice. I know a lot of people that did it. They, like I said, right after October, beginning of the fiscal year, it's a little bit easier. You want to study, know what ASVAB score you need, study those sections. I have a video on that if you guys haven't seen it. So know exactly what areas you really have to concentrate on, if it's certain types with the mathematics, the science, the electronics, whatever. As far as, it's funny that you say that, like with Japan. I have so many people that went to Japan recently that did not want to go overseas, and vice versa. People that really wanted to go, they end up going to Norfolk or San Diego. It's luck of the draw. It really is. If you stay in the Navy, eventually you will end up going, where you want to go. Hopefully. I never got to go to Japan, but then again, my career was totally different, how it was laid out. What happens if you fail in A school? Just wondering. They switch your rate. You go to the fleet as undesignated, and you work as a bosun's mate. So, or whatever they do on the aviation side, equivalent. So yeah, and then you would have to strike all over again, which you don't want. Do your best. They'll have tutors, and I know, like I struggled with like my BEE, my electronics, because just for some reason, me and electronics, like my head just hurts. And I know that I struggled, but my instructor, he stayed after and he worked with me to get me through it. They'll do what they can to get you to pass with tutoring and stuff. But it also goes back to really picking a rating that you're going to enjoy, because it's just going to make it that much easier. Yeah, Zachary says they'll switch the rating to what the Navy needs. Yeah, because like if you go in, I know a lot of people this happened to, even like recently, they fail. Like I said, you're going to go to the fleet undesignated, and sometimes it works out better for that individual. But you're gonna be working in deck. Basically, it's like doing the PAC program. But yeah, everything is needs of the Navy. As far as where they send you, just, as far as like Zachary was saying, if there's a particular job they have to stick you in for collateral duties and everything, it's all needs of the Navy. All right, 2 hours and 12 minutes. Woohoo. Give it about another 10 minutes. What other questions you guys have for me? Any rate where you don't get stuck on a ship? Yes. NC. Navy counselor, there's two types. There's the career counselor type, which you will be on a ship, but requirement is after your first contract, you'll be at least an E5. You can apply for NC, which is a career recruiter, and it's permanent shore duty. If that's something that interests you, I highly recommend it. I have a lot of friends that are NCs. Like I said, permanent shore duty. Yep, PAC seaman. I only know of a few people where the PAC program really worked out in their favor, where they really were able to pick what they wanted. But yeah, I don't recommend that. I told him what you explained to me, and he thanked you. So God, he thought he was effed. And another thing, my question, were you were ever on? No, I was not. Nope. CBs, do they ever touch a ship? CBs, they won't touch a ship, but they do go overseas. I did serve with quite a few that were overseas with me in Kuwait. I know quite a few, like even when I was out on ABOT, things of that nature. So, but like NC, the recruiter, they do not leave. They'll be here in the States. Now, if you're also looking on, like, you will go on a ship, it's just, well, I can't even say that. I know a couple LSs that were never on a ship in their 20 years, but other ones that they did like one tour on a ship, which is going FTS, full-time support, which is a reserve contract, which you are on active duty orders for your whole entire contract, and you are training reservist. And I have a video on that one too, if you guys aren't familiar with it. So how long do you get stuck on a ship if you get called in? You're talking about like if you do your hoe, like if you're attached to a ship, because there's different types of, depending on the ship, depending on the type of training, you may go out for a couple days for certain quals, sometimes for 2 weeks. You go 6 months, 9 months. Generally, it's like 6-7 months for a deployment. But, sometimes ships, they get extended, things of that nature. So Keller says you want a GM or something with aviation. So they suggested air traffic controller. I heard through suicide. That's the only thing I'm nervous about. Air traffic controller, I know it's a very stressful job. It's even on the civilian side, very stressful. I have a couple of friends that are air traffic controllers. They've never been in the military, but that's what they do. They say it's a very stressful job. But, if it interests you, if GM interests you, I can give you all kinds of input on that. I wanted to make this really cool video for GM. I had, envisioned in my head how I wanted to do it, but it's just not feasible right now with everything going on. So I'm probably just going to put out some really basic, just talking about like, this is like what a GM does, maybe throw up some pictures. Also, like I said, difference between GM, MA, because a lot of people think it's the same and it's not. Greetings from Chicago. How's the weather up there? There's Carrie. I was wondering where you were, Carrie. You missed me. Thank you, Carrie. Is your son gone now? I know you said August. I was actually looking in my notes because I take notes. I couldn't remember. I know you said August, but I couldn't remember the date. Didn't you say like the 16th or something? I've been thinking about you a lot lately, actually, just the whole thing. I want to make a video. I was talking to a couple of parents last night, and I want to make a video specifically like Navy boot camp, what parents need to know. So that's my plan. October 5th now. Okay. I'm sure you're quite happy. I'm going to write that down. October 5th. Yeah. Do you know anyone, AM or AD? I know quite a few. Has gotten out of the Navy and used a good job. Yes. It does translate very well to civilian life, but it's like anything. Any of these ratings, not only your job itself, but also having collateral duties, getting whatever NECs, goes back to that Navy Cool website, seeing what certifications you can get, active or reserve. That's huge. And so many people do not utilize that. Set yourself up for success. Perfect video. I'm glad I actually said this. I can't believe I've been on over 2 hours. I said this when I first got on. I was like, I hope Carrie comes on because that's something I wanted to ask you. Parents need me. Thank you. Yeah, I've had quite a few parents ask me some questions, so I've been like taking notes. So even Carrie, if you would, at some point in time, if you still have my email address, to send me, like what kind of questions you think that I should cover, because I have my list, but I would like to know what kind of questions parents have, because I'm not a parent. I'm a parent to fur babies, but trying to understand the mindset of a parent. And it's only from what I've read on certain blogs or Facebook groups, Instagram, things like that, and then questions that then I would ask, and they would be like, but I wish the recruiter would have told me X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I really want to know, because I want to put some videos out for the parents. I'm supposed to take the ASVAB tomorrow. Awesome. They rescheduled me because I don't have my diploma. Aw. Is that because of just the whole current situation? Talking about diploma, is it because you have to get the GAD, or is it because of diploma because of the whole COVID thing? Going reserves. All right. There are a lot of sources and stuff that's saying we might have a vaccine before the end of the year. Yeah, I know. We get the vaccine. Is the Navy going to stop quarantine, do you think? First off, this is what a lot of people don't understand. I had this conversation with somebody a couple weeks ago. the military is always the guinea pigs for shots. Yeah, they get a new flu shot, they get whatever, whatever type of vaccine, military. You be the guinea pig. I've had quite a few of those. I know, like when anthrax first came out, I was one of those individuals that had to get that shot in the beginning. They did not know the side effects at the time. We actually, when anthrax, the vaccine first came out, they used to give it to us instead of the arm. They used to get it in the stomach. Very painful. Had quite a few deaths in the beginning. I'm glad that I did not have any type of adverse reactions, but yeah, we are like the guinea pigs, the military, for a lot of things. And I don't know. I don't see it happening for a while, honestly. I know everybody's like really in a rush to get this vaccine, and for so many reasons, and I want a vaccine so I can go home and see my parents and stuff, but I don't know. And I can't see the Navy like really changing things, because they've already put so much in place to keep the sailors safe. We've already gone through so many setbacks, like Zachary was talking about. He was quarantined 4 times in boot camp, so I can see it taking a while. Is there anything, rates, volunteers for fighting pirates? Well, a lot of that is with, coastal riverine, like when we were overseas and stuff. But yeah, I mean, some GMs, some MAs, things of that nature. Is that something that interests you? Thank you, Carrie. One more question. So you could study martial arts. You can. I know Norfolk, they had quite a few different forms of martial arts. They're on base. It's a little bit different right now because of the whole situation, the quarantine and the COVID and everything. But yeah, generally the bases and things have that, along with out in town. As far as your shifts and all taken up now, I mean, so much depends on your rating. Like a lot of MAs and stuff, like say if they're on shore duty, they'll be standing in general, like 12-hour watches and things, but you have your off days and schedules do change. You learn one thing in the military is to be flexible. Rosa, thank you from parents. Yeah, I don't see a whole lot really out there for parents. So yeah, I'd like to give all of my experience, not only as a Navy veteran, but as a Navy chief, because of seeing things totally different. It's almost, I refer to them as my kids. It's almost like these sailors, like they are my kids. So in a sense of like being a parent. So I see it from the military side and trying to understand it from a civilian side, which I'm not able to understand because I've had this military mindset for 30 some years. So yeah, I want to do my best to help the parents, especially with the whole situation currently with the quarantine and boot camp and all. Question your high school transcript to support your transcripts. They asked me to provide your diploma. Okay. Good night, Ms. Zorza. Good night. I'm in the process of joining the reserves as an RN. I'd like to know, where should I talk with the recruiter about bonuses, benefits, MEPs? Definitely want to talk to your recruiter about that. Bonuses and all that stuff changes constantly. But definitely get with your recruiter, make a list ahead of time of the questions you have. So when you get with the recruiter, get all that stuff answered. And if it's an answer that your gut's telling you maybe there's a little bit more information you want, you can reach back out to me and I can maybe guide you there. Tim has been very helpful with your son. His run, push-ups, awesome. Yeah, time can definitely be your friend. I'm glad to see that. You always bring great peace of mind. That's why I love your videos. Thank you. I appreciate it, Carrie. Something I was telling somebody recently, actually, he's been contacting me on Instagram. tonight. I've been working with a couple individuals to get their run time. It's not where they need it to be before going to boot camp. Something, I don't know why I didn't think of this before, something that helps immensely. And it's so easy to do. It's cheap as far as, especially, with not wanting to go to the gym and stuff, probably now in a lot of areas. Jump rope. Get a jump rope. And you can get like a real cheap one, or if you can afford one that's a little bit better, get one that like I have, like myself, a CrossFit rope. That will help your breathing immensely, which will then translate for your run time. That really helps. Says the pace I recommended really helped. I'm glad to hear that. It really does. Does reserve have bonus? Also, reserves have had bonuses throughout the years. Currently, right now, I have not heard of anything. I have not, honestly, though, I have not looked on the website in the last couple weeks. I normally do that a couple times, if not more, per week, but I have not, just because of everything going on in my life, and I apologize for that. But it's very rare. The only bonus I ever had throughout my 28-year span in the Navy was right after 9/11. And that was because so many people were leaving the Navy and they wanted to keep us in, and I received a $10,000 bonus. That was the only time. And I was on a reserve status at that point. But that was the only time I ever received a bonus. She's talking about the pace I recommended. What she's talking about there is and you can look this up on YouTube. It's the pacer test. And you may not be familiar with it when I say that, but once you watch the video, it'll be like, oh yeah, and you can go to the Dollar Tree. That's what I did. I went and got some cones, orange cones at the Dollar Tree, spent a couple bucks, and you just run from one set of cones to the other. And what I did is I actually just on my phone used a video, like so many people do for YouTube, for the pacer test, and it has a little beep, and it tells you when it beeps, you turn around and you run the other direction to the cones, and it gets faster and faster. And that really helps with your breathing. And that's something I know that they've been doing up there for individuals that have been in the quarantine to help improve their run time. Yeah, and Carrie's talking about there. It's like I said, that jump rope. There's many different channels again on YouTube, but one that I watch is the jump rope dudes. All kinds of fancy, which I can't do 99% of what they do with the jump rope. Maybe one day, but that really, for me, has really helped with my cardio. Especially too with being, I don't want to go to the gym because I live in a very hot spot with the whole COVID thing down here in South Florida. So I'm not going to go to a gym. And, so either go for a walk or jump rope and do my planks. Where's my little YNSN? Yeah, you're not asking any questions. So does that mean because you don't want to do any planks? You told me you were doing a plank for every question you asked. But I'm glad to hear that about your son. And I'll definitely, like I said, any parents that may be watching this, if you can email me your questions that you have about the Navy, in regards to your child joining, and not only like just now, but like even future down the road. Questions you have about boot camp, about quarantine, about A school, about, going to the first command, whatever the question is, I want to know what those questions are so I can make videos, because I really want to make a lot of videos tailored, like I said, for the parents. There's still turkey sandwiches. You know what? It's funny you say that, because I actually just emailed somebody up there to get that answered. I know for quite a while they stopped the turkey sandwiches. They were having some other types of meals, but it comes down to, if you're not picky about your food, you're going to be happy with what they give you. I'm a very finicky eater. And I know in boot camp, it's like if I didn't have a salad or cereal or a peanut butter sandwich, peanut butter and banana sandwich, I would not, I know, be happy with the food that they're basically giving. That's just me. But yeah, Turkey, I've heard that they've changed that, but I'll get some clarification. Did they substitute for running? No. Now, once you get out of, and a lot of this is changing, but once you get out of boot camp, you have to run in boot camp. Everybody does. Once you get to your commands, like right now, depending on the commands and over the years and depending on the availability, like for me, I usually swam the PRT. And then after I fractured my ankle, I did the bike. There's also like the elliptical. They're actually implementing the rowing, which to me is, I'd rather row. I do a lot of rowing when I would go to the gym. But that's something that they're implementing along with planks, replacing the sit-ups. But that's when you get out of boot camp. In boot camp, you have to run. And if you're terrible at running, they will motivate you. You will do better. The carrier room, is there a big hotel room or is it different? Say what? You say carrier room? You're talking about an aircraft carrier? We paid active duty during, yes. Because when you go back down, your ship date, you're going to go back to MEPs, you're going to swear in. Now, when you swear in, you're officially in. A lot of people don't understand that. Before that, if you just didn't show up to your ship date, you just don't show up. You're going to swear in again. Now you're officially in the Navy. And then once you get to the hotel, start your training day, and you start getting paid at that point. You're paid for everything. You have no family. Where would my mail, my items, like your phone? You're not going to mail your items. Your items stay there in a box. They changed that several months ago. So your stuff's all packed up when you get to the hotel, your civilian clothes, your phone, backpack, whatever you bring. It's packed up in a box. Your name's put on the box. It's stored at RTC. Once you graduate, it's returned to you. What is college like while on active duty? Just like regular college. I mean, it's just a matter of working around, especially if you go to actual class, you're going to have to work around any possible duty days, things of that nature. But it's the same. No phones in quarantine. Nope. No phones. And I was also told, and I'm getting clarification on this, but I was also told no switch, nothing electronic whatsoever. Aircraft carrier, curious what the rooms are like. Well, it's when you say rooms, they're compartments. And are you referring to like the berthing where you sleep? Because if so, I mean, it's the same as any other ship. It's just there's more because there's more people. And actually, and Aaron's not on here. It's probably, he's probably on his ship and he's got no reception. But Aaron, USN, Aaron Pereira, definitely want to check out his channel. He actually put a video out a few days ago of his berthing, of his rack, showing you his area. Your son was terrible at running. Yep. You can do it. Just practice. Practice. Laura helped us so much. Yeah, it's like anything. It's all practice. Like I said, I hate running. I've always been terrible at running. And when I was stationed with a SEAL unit, we had to have a 12.5-minute mile or less, which for some people are like, oh, that's a lot of time. Well, if you're not a runner, and I got a very short inseam, short legs. So yeah, you had to have a certain run time or you couldn't stay in the unit. That's just the way our CO made it, So you practice, you do what you have to do. And if you want it bad enough, you'll do it. What? No more gaming? Yeah, that's what I was told. I was told this by two actually individuals that are up there, RDCs. But like I said, I want to get clarification. So I've contacted, I have a whole list of questions that I contacted the the PAOs up there, and we'll see what information comes back on that. During quarantine, we're allowed to bring MP3 player and headset. I was told nothing electronic, but like I said, I want to get, and I'll make a note of that. I want to have some type of clarification on that, because like I said, that's most people are complaining about. It's just the not doing anything. From some of the parents I've talked to, the letters that they receive from their children, I know that the parents have been very upset because of, the whole situation. But all I can say is, and it might sound harsh, but it's like, get used to it, because there's many times, like I know when I was flying from Germany to Kuwait to Afghanistan, when you're waiting in Kuwait to go to Afghanistan, there were times where you're waiting 3-4 days, and you're in the heat, 120, 130 degrees, quite often no air conditioning. You got your battle rattle on, your bulletproof vest, all your gear that you're lugging around. You're hot, you're thirsty, you're sweaty, you're not taking a shower, and you do nothing but sitting there waiting for 2, 3, 4 days. So kind of like that kind of stuff, it's like it kind of prepares you for what is coming down the road. I mean, at least you're able to sit on a bed. I have a lot of questions for you. I'm not asking you too much. No, you're not asking me a lot. Trust me, I had a couple individuals I really thought they'd be on tonight, that I've actually one. He went yesterday to MEPs, and I really wanted to know what he scored on his ASVAB. I should probably check. You should probably send me some on Instagram. But yeah, I know you're not asking me too many questions. That's why I'm here. What about studying? Yes, they can study. That's what they will be doing. They'll be studying. They actually have a little schedule. They didn't want to share too much with me, but where they actually clean for a certain amount of time, get in the habit of field day, which is cleaning. Like I said, they have a list of exercises they're permitted to do in the room. So, yeah. Girl, where you been at? Alexandria's in the house. I was thinking about you and Danielle. I have not seen or heard from you guys in forever. Or Haley. How early can I start online college when you get to your active duty command? Well, tuition assistance is not permitted for 2 years. And technically, I mean, they don't want you to take any classes because you got to get, depending on your command, depending on your rate, your rating, all that, you have to get all your quals, your watch standing quals. There's a lot of things that you need to complete. Now, if you were to knock all that stuff out, then you can go to your chain of command and then, be like, hey, I want to take these classes. You may have to pay out of pocket, if that's something that you want to do. But you're going to have to get all your quals and stuff done first. Can you bring your own books in quarantine? Yes, they do say to bring 2 books to read. And then you can also bring a Bible. That doesn't count as one of the 2 books. And then your study material. So, depends on how fast of a reader you are. Yeah, you definitely, maybe you'd be fortunate enough to have a couple books, and maybe because you're going to share a room with 2 to 3 other people, maybe they have a couple books. Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. I just want to make sure I wasn't. Now, you're not going to be calling the front desk. Watch TV. Some of the individuals said they were watching TV. They did not clarify, and I'll get some clarification if they had a certain time. Because like I said, I was told by some of my buddies that are up there right now, RDCs, that they have a set schedule, sort of like, you're going to field day for this hour. And then, you can PT at between this time, you're going to study here. And then you have free time watching TV. I don't know if it's after 1600 or what. I'll write that on my notes. But yeah. Like I said, and so much of this stuff too, get information now doesn't mean it's not going to change tomorrow, a week from now. Everything's so fluid. What do you expect on the day of your ASVAB medical exam? Make sure, one, you get plenty of sleep. And I know that's going to be hard to do because you can be very excited, nervous, but you want to get as much rest as possible before taking your ASVAB. Go in, you can take your ASVAB exam, and then your medical. You can do your little duck walk where you're going to strip down to your skivvies. You can do your duck walk. They're looking to see if you can do the duck walk, and it might seem silly, but that's all about being flat-footed. They're also going to be looking for scars, which is the main reason, like you're stripping down to your skivvies, your underwear, because they want to see if you have scars to see if there's something maybe you did not put with your recruiter paperwork, maybe something you're hiding. And this might sound silly, but I know individuals that have done this. They had like rotator cuff surgery, big old scar. They didn't disclose that. So they're looking for this kind of stuff. But it's just very straightforward. As long as you're upfront with your recruiter about everything, you provide whatever documentation of any surgeries you've had, it's going to go, really quick and easy. Guys, they get the prostate exam. Females, you get your pap smear. Everyone does a duck walk. They're going to ask you a lot of questions, about drug use and all. You will have urinalysis, testing for drugs. So don't be silly like some individuals, and they get to the hotel and they have that one smoke that joint the night before they do it. Same thing, their final ship date, they go down steps and they have that one last joint, get drug tested again. You're gonna have drug tests. So yeah, but it's very straightforward. Like the big thing is get plenty of rest, mainly for the ASVAB, and study ahead of time if you can. Definitely want to do that, and have a list of 3, 4, even 5 different ratings that interest you in case. So unless you're dead set, I really want whichever rating. But you're going to want to have some backup plans for what you're going to pick. So, any other questions? Anybody? Rivers, did you leave us? Are you doing like one lengthy plank? Yeah, I never took my ASVAB down at MEPs. I took mine, it was the Saturday after I graduated high school. Yeah, school was done. Took the test on Saturday, actually walked on Sunday for my, the formal ceremony. And I took it just because my friends were taking it. I had no intention of joining the military, but I ended up joining. So recruit training command, when you quarantine, does that count as some of your basic training? Yes, in a sense, because generally boot camp is 8 weeks. And like I said, now it's 7 weeks, with one of those weeks being your P days, where before it was 8 weeks, one being your P days. So they're kind of using those 2 weeks. That's why, like I said, bring your study material, and you're going to be studying there. Study yourself, ask your roommates questions, study together, because they expect for you when you get actually at RTC to hit the ground running. And, if there's something you still cannot remember, there are ways that, you will remember. They will help you out. Sorry, with the duck walk. Duck walk, when you kind of go like this and you squat all down and you're walking on your feet, like heel to toe. A lot of people have a problem with it, especially a lot of females. I know I'm one because I have hips, larger hips than like a lot of females are like straight up and down. I have hips. So you may, like lose your balance. A lot of people think, oh, it's just about balance. It's not about the balance people are thinking of. It's to see if you're flat-footed. Because if you're flat-footed, you're not able to do the movements. So that's what they're looking for. I'm sure there's probably something on YouTube. I haven't Googled it, but I'm sure there is. Recruiters not doing the PT or anything. Last heard from anyone in months. PT, as far as you're talking about carry with depth, or what are you referring to? Because like the PRT, that's been canceled for this whole year. So if you're an E3 and under you have to live with your roommates, no way to live alone, right? Well, I mean, if you're single, E3, you're going to be living on your ship or wherever you're at. Now, depending on the command, like my first ship, you had to be at least an E4 to live out in town. I had to pay out of pocket. You did not receive BAH, which is your basic allowance for housing, where the Navy gives you money to live out in town. That's only if you have dependents. So if you're married or you have children, or if you're an E5, that's a standard rule. So like for me, I just had a couple of roommates. We went out in town. We got a place, which I wouldn't even recommend that. I would recommend just saving all the money you can, living wherever you're at in the barracks or on the ship. That's just my opinion. Uniforms, I think they can present for taxes. Reserve side, you know, they always told like us, because we had to buy a lot of stuff out of pocket, taxes, but I mean, I'm lucky if I saw like $10 come back. I mean, it wasn't really much of anything. When you get to boot camp, a lot of people don't understand that your uniforms, nothing's free. That comes out of your first paycheck or 2 paychecks. I know for like me, it was your whole first paycheck. I heard now they kind of like do half your first paycheck, half your second. But you know, they're doing all the alteration and everything. That's where the money really comes into play. But I mean, yeah, I mean, especially as you later on, it gets pretty costly to put all your patches on your uniform. You know, yeah, you can do a tax write-off. I don't know what you really can get out of it. I know, like for me, I didn't really get anything. Yeah, for depth, I have not heard that they're doing any type of PT. I know like on Wednesdays when I would drive down right across, I live close to one of the recruiting stations here. I would always see them out in front of the station at 1800, 6 o'clock at night, and they'd be doing PT and then go for a run. I have not seen that recently. So from my understanding, they're still not doing any type of PT. They just, you know, they're hoping you're doing that on your own. How long would it take to get all your quals for ABH? So much of that depends on, you know, the command you're attached to, because certain commands have different quals, depending on your, you know, if you're going to be on a carrier or, you know, just there's so many different factors depending on your actual quals for ABH. Also, like, what are your watch standing quals? Like, so for instance, gunner's mate, you know, if like, say you just happen to be fortunate enough as a gunner's mate to go off your first command shore duty, you're in an armory, you're gonna have to get your different, you know, 3M quals, your armory watch standing quals, things of that nature. Whereas on a ship, you're gonna have like 20 times more quals. There's just so much more as far as because of just the nature of it. So it also depends on, like I said, gung-ho. You know, on like ABH, especially being on a ship, you're going to have to get all of your firefighting quals. Everybody on the ship does that. General basic firefighting, you know, with your 3M, and it's time consuming. Most individuals, they're not go-getters. If you have a goal, you know what you want to do, especially if you're planning on going to school. I know I said this to Aaron Pereira, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know who he is. He has his own channel, and I mentor him. I've been, you know, telling him, knock those quals out. Because the other thing is, too, doesn't matter, ABH, AO, GM, whatever, you get to your first command, a ship, you're also going to be standing food service aid, which is mess. Back in the day, they call it mess cranking. I believe now it's 4 months. It used to be 6 months. You're going to do your KP duty, working in the kitchen, in the galley. So you have all those factors too, which is another reason why they say the 2-year mark. Okay? Have all your quals done, be studying for your exam, because even though a lot of people join for the educational benefits, you're there to do a job for the Navy. So they want to make sure you have all your quals, your watch standing, So you're doing your mess cranking duty, things of that nature. So would you say reserves is a little bit easier than active because you don't have commanders? You know, two totally different worlds. And I know I talked about this in the last video I made. You know, reserves, you do your boot camp in your A school and you go home to your civilian life. Totally different. Totally different. It's like apples and oranges. I personally, having served on both, I do not recommend reserves for somebody. I think you should go active duty, and then finish up your contract if you want to do active reserves. The only time I would say go reserves is maybe like if you're older and you already have a career set in place that you really love, and you just want to like supplement your income, or you want that TRICARE insurance, or you want to, you know, just serve your country. You want a little bit of travel, you know, with opportunities to mobilize, things like that. But so many people join thinking they're joining, getting the same benefits as active duty, and it's not. I'm active duty right now and have signed up for online courses. Awesome. It's easy because I do have support for my command. Awesome. So I can take online courses right now. No problem. Awesome. Awesome. Where are you going to school at? I did online for quite a few classes. I know for myself, I prefer butt in seat. I know things are different right now because of the current situation. But I do like online just for the fact is, you know, if you want to do your homework at like 3 in the morning, you can do your homework at 3 in the morning. But sort of like you're saying there, you know, if you have the support of your commands, that makes a world of difference. It really does. Edgar wants to know, how long have you been active? Coming up on 3 hours. 3 hours. Job can you recommend for reserves? Depends on what you want to do. If you want a job, a rating where you're going to do a lot of opportunities for mobilizing, picking, you know, to go somewhere for 6 months here, a year there, I highly recommend LSYN. Those are the two that see the most job opportunities for mobilization and such. Plus the fact those two ratings, they can go anywhere, any command. Also good for advancement. LS is always been very good in the reserves for advancement. But it comes down to, you know, what do you want to do? Is it more important to have a particular rating job that you know, want to fulfill? Or is it more about the travel, advancement? You know, there's different factors like that you want to look into. You're old already. You're a nurse. See, and something like that, you know, if you already, like I said, have a career, then reserves is perfect. That's fine. But so many individuals I know, they don't have that career. They're thinking they're going to go to school on the reserve side. The Navy's going to pay 100% for it. You know, it's not the way it is. So yeah, reserves, that's perfect. Especially if you decide to go like nurse corps, you know, on the reserves. Like I said, definitely just talk to your recruiter. They have recruiters that are just for reserve officers, some that are just for nurses. I know quite a few that have actually gone that route. They love it. Some, they just stay with the blue side with the Navy. Some have gone the green side. They've served with the Marines as a nurse. They love it. A lot of great opportunities. You know, still get the benefits. All right, what other questions? We'll wrap this up here in about 6 minutes. So what other questions you guys have? Quite a few of you have actually, I think, asked most about reserve officer-wise for nurses, and I've had a few for supply, but that's about it in regards to like the officer side on the reserves. Son got the job he wants, PR. Yeah, I remember he said that. If he wants to be a PR for the SEALs, what does he need to do? Well, so much of that is going to be when he's done with school as far as the availability. But I'll actually look to see, I can actually ask one of my buddies to see if he has any input on that. He's actually retired Navy SEAL. He was actually a PR before the SO, which is special operator for the SEALs. Before that actually became a thing, they used to have their own. They used to have ratings like we did. But like a lot of that is just it's having the NEC. Like for instance, as a gunner's mate, there's a specific NEC, which is your Navy enlisted classification code. It's your C school. It's your specialty. There's an actual NEC for the Navy, for like GMs to be an armorer for the SEALs. So I'll have to look. I can actually look that up and get back to you, Carrie, to see if there's something for PR. 34, but not an RN, LPN. So should you go to reserves? You're talking about like as far as like nurse corps or that? Because I'd have to look to see what the requirements are as far as with the LPN. Because I know like a lot of individuals, they go corpsman and then later on they go as far as officer for the nurse corps. But yeah, I would have to verify. A lot of medical people in here helping out. I think that's great, wanting to join. Joined at 27 when it was E3. Take the E5. Awesome. It sucks as far as it feels like I got thrown into being, yeah. It can feel that way. I like that though, with herding cats. I'm in school right now for medical. Should I just drop out and do something medical in the Navy? That's all, like personal decision. When you say you're in school for medical, what are you going for? What type of medical? Are you going for nursing or what are you doing? And as far as too, like with the Navy, would you be looking at doing corpsman? Always do pros and cons. Make a list of pros and cons to know maybe if you need to stay, in school for a year. So much of that also, like I said, depends on your age. If you're going active, if you're going reserve, what are your goals? Because too, if you have like associate's degree, or even if you don't have a degree, but you have a certain amount of credits, the Navy's been giving to me a ridiculous amount of bonuses that were never offered back in the day. So I don't know what it is off the top of my head. It's like, 30 credits is a couple grand or something. I'd have to verify because I haven't checked it out the last few weeks. But they were given, I think it was for like a bachelor's, it was like $8,000 just to sign. So I mean, this is going enlisted. Just meant in general, you're still in school. Yeah, like I said, I would just do the pros and cons as far as, is it now a good time to actually join for you? Or do you want to stay in school? That's a personal decision, but definitely pros and cons. Drew's in the house. Hey, Drew, I saw that you wrote something about GM over on Aaron's channel. Just waking up, almost time to go to work. Long day tomorrow, 14 hours. Woo. Weight cutting, you're so close. Awesome. Surgical tech in school. Okay, cool. If the Navy wanted to do reserve corpsman. I have a couple friends that are surgical techs. They really enjoy that. Okay. I don't know like the program, like the length of the program, where you're at or that, but what you can also do is what a lot of people do is they'll sign a contract, especially like for the reserves, and then they'll wait a year in depth. So that way they're in school for that whole time, and then they go to boot camp. My son wanted corpsman, wasn't available. He got his second choice, PR. When I sign my contract for the reserve, is there a minimum years? And if so, how long? Yes, you'll do 8 years, 8-year contract. Reserve is good if you want to get like regular civilian jobs, federal jobs, please. Yeah, I have so many friends, that's what I'm saying, that some of them did their active duty time, they went reserves, while other ones, they're already in that federal job and they don't want to give up the federal job, so they just do the reserve side. The beauty is, though, especially over the past few years, so much has changed in favor of the reserves to where, you can do 4 or 5, 6 years, whatever, in the reserves and then go active duty. There's a lot of programs out there now. So, yeah, if you're not sure, go reserves. There's always that opportunity to go active duty. All right, any last minute questions? Because I'm going to cut it off here in a couple minutes. Try and get a decent night's sleep tonight. Anybody? Got little fingers typing? Any info on FC? Is that what you're looking at now, Drew? Non-gunners, mate? FC, too much electronics for me. Yeah, definitely go check out Navy Cool. I can give you all kinds of information, but just I recommend going to Navy Cool, do an FC, and it'll tell you everything you need to know as far as where you're going to go to school, length of school, what the job entails. Once again, depends on the command you're going to go to, because it'll be a little bit different per command. And then it'll also give you the credentialing of how that relates to a civilian job. Why in a good job? If you like office work, yes. I actually did a lot of the YN work at different times throughout my career. More of a personal question. Have you ever been a fan of classic rock music? Classic rock, I'm a big fan. Anime culture, I watched some of it. I have some of my friends there. They're really big into that. I've just never really been exposed to it so much, but classic rock, yes. That's like my era. Sleep is better now that noisy roommate is gone. Yes. And I'm actually working on some other things that I will announce here in probably the next few weeks. I don't think you were on here, Carrie. I don't want to jinx some things by saying right now what's going on, what I've been in the process of doing the last couple of weeks, and will continue the next few weeks. But I'll be putting that out here. GM is definitely your first choice. Awesome. I'm going to be doing a video putting out information on GM for individuals that want to know GM specific, but then also GM and how different is it compared to MA? Because I've had that asked quite a bit recently. Any underappreciated advice for basic training? Basic training, it's really not the Navy. It's just a process of going from civilian to sailor. Enjoy the process. It'll be over before you know it. And it'll be gone in a blink of an eye. When you're going through the process, it doesn't seem like it, but it's such a small portion of your time. I must say this before you head off. Thank you for everything. You're a very, very informative person. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Much more knowledgeable than a recruiter, to be honest with you. Thanks, Laura. That's someone else said that to me yesterday. That's because I have 28 years of serving. And like I said, learn from my mistakes. Yes, thank you, Chief. I know myself and quite a few others are looking at GM. Really? You're looking at GM now? I don't remember you looking at GM. Awesome. I want a new job. It's related to nursing because you're an RN. Awesome. Explorer still I can do, but I'm afraid that the job would be hard for me. You know, if it's what you want to do, it's going to be easy. It really is. If it's something that interests you and you're passionate about, don't worry about it. It'll be good. You should do Q&As a little bit more often. I know. I think there's only like my 4th one, maybe 5th on my channel. I've been kind of MIA for the past few weeks, but I'm back. Thank you so much. Have a good night. You have a good night too, Stephen. Thanks a lot for answering your questions. You are very welcome. Love the video. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Carrie. All right, everyone. I'm going to sign out. I will do some more Q&As. So if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, and I'll get some more videos out for you guys, do some more Q&As. So until the next video, you guys take care. Please be safe. And yeah, you guys all have a good night. All right. Take care. Bye.